Maricopa City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, July 2nd. We appreciate your patience as we were in e-session. At this time, we would like to have everybody stand, as we'd like to have an invocation by Lee Fielis, after which the Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Wade Brennan, and after that we will have a moment of silence for the 19 firefighters that were lost in the Yarnell fire. Thank you.
Dear Lord, we give thanks tonight for this precious time to be together, to give and share and enjoy our daily work, to fulfill our duties and to realize our calling. We are grateful each and every day to our firefighters, police, military, and emergency personnel, and to their families, all of whom sacrifice daily for our protection, safety, and comfort here at home, around the state, in this great country, and around the world. We pray tonight for the 19 brave firefighters who gave the ultimate sacrifice while honoring their commitments to their fellow citizens, that they are welcomed into your kingdom and light. May the families of those lost be comforted by your grace, by the love and support of their communities, and in the knowledge that their loved ones are at peace evermore in your loving embrace. We ask your blessings on the town of Yarnell and Prescott and their neighbors in their time of need, that you may grant strength and guidance to those communities to come together and to help all of us express properly our gratitude to those who serve. Lord, may you grant strength, courage, and wisdom to our mayor and council members, that they may do the work of the people with a clear mind, a thoughtful conscience, and an open heart, as stewards of our community and representatives of the people, practicing respect and courtesy, integrity, and self-control. May we all be passionate yet understanding as we share a spirit of brotherhood with our fellow citizens and those who work on our behalf, as well as our neighboring communities, that we may realize continuing peace, prosperity, and togetherness. May we always bring honor to our city and to you. In your name we pray, as we say together. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Chapados? Here. Councilwoman Gussie? Here. Councilmember Kimball?
Here.
Councilmember Potter?
Present.
Vice Mayor Farrell? Here. Mayor Price?
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much. We have a lot to get to tonight, and we appreciate so many people being in attendance. Wanted to just recognize a few people. We have former Mayor Anthony Smith here. Tony Smith, appreciate it. We also have former Mayor Kelly Anderson in the audience, so we thank you for being here as well. And I also saw Councilman Carl Dietrich in the audience as well, so thank you. Did I miss anybody else? Oh, and I missed Councilmember Brent Murphy. I apologize. There you are, Brent.
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor, that's right. If there's anybody else I missed, just holler. I apologize. With that here, we're going to move into item 3, proclamations, acknowledgements, and awards. We have some PRL things to attend to. At this time, I have a proclamation. We'd like to invite the PRL committee up. Well, great. We certainly appreciate your service to the city, first off, and wanted to issue this proclamation here. It says, whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Maricopa, our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and a region. Parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. Parks and recreation activities and leisure experiences provide opportunities for young people to live, to grow, and to develop into contributing members of society, create lifelines and continuous life experience for older members of the community, generate opportunities for people to come together and experience a sense of community. They also provide economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. Our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. So whereas the U.S. House of Representatives, pretty official, huh? Yeah. Has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, the City of Maricopa recognizes the benefits derived from the Parks and Recreation's resources. So therefore, I, Christian Price, Mayor of the City of Maricopa, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Park and Recreation Month within the City of Maricopa. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I believe Therese Starkey, the chairwoman of the PRL, has a few words to address us with tonight as well. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Farrow, and council members. I am here tonight representing the Parks, Recreation, and Library Advisory Board. And what a board we are. Under the direction of Jennifer Campbell, she keeps us very, very busy, and this is what we love, all of us being part of this committee. Some of us have judged the mysterious mansion mayhem, the Holiday Inn lights. We have also participated in the groundbreaking for Lexington Park and also for our new Copper Sky. We have also attended the grand opening of Lexington Park. We were part of the project for Playful City, which took us through all the communities here in Maricopa, throughout the city, and with that we were able to utilize all our map skills and also how to do a lot of U-turns, okay? We have also participated in some of the library events. We have participated in the pumpkin carving, the Dr. Seuss, and also in Star Wars. Also with that project that we did with Playful City, we partnered with Rocky and his kids. And in the future, we hope to do more partnering with Rocky and with the library to even do more events. So your appointments to all of us on this committee, we want you to know that we take our appointments very, very serious, and we're very, 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 very proud to serve. We look forward into being involved with more projects in the city, and as Copper Sky becomes a reality to us all, and we have that grand opening, that we can be part of so many of the events coming up. There will be quite a few of us that will be at the events for this 4th of July, volunteering our services to help the city too. But with all of this, there is someone here that has just helped us so much and that we could have never done this, and that's Brenda Campbell. She is the one that does all the mapping for us, even though some of us still get lost. She has trained us in volunteering, to help at the events, but the most important thing, she feeds us too sometimes, so we want to thank Brenda, and thank you for your appointments, and we love what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that completes 3.1 at this time. We're going to move on to item 4. This is the report from the mayor. A couple of things here. First off, I just wanted to remind you that, and I'm sure we will be further reminded here momentarily about the 4th of July. That will be taking place here, obviously, in 2 days, and so we encourage you to come to Pecana Park and participate in the fireworks and activities that are going on there. You will receive a more in-depth briefing on that shortly. Also have a notice here from ED3, which, as many of you know, some to your chagrin, the electric company in the area, and wanted to let you know that there is a free home energy savings workshop. This was done last year by them. It helps people understand where their homes are losing energy, and it's put on by them free, so you can come and hopefully reduce your bill. This will be held Tuesday, July 9th, 2013. That's from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., and it will be here, the Maricopa Unified School District, Boardroom 118, and again, the address is here. So again, the date is Tuesday, July 9th, 2013, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. So if you'd mark your calendars for that. With that, I wanted to give you an update on an ADOT situation that has to do with the 347 overpass. Many of you have been anxiously awaiting for additional news as we've done the scoping or in the process of the scoping for that project. And I wanted to give you a heads up. In the last month, we had the opportunity, former Mayor Kelly Anderson sits on the State Board of Transportation Board, and in doing so, they make the decisions as to where all the money in the state will be allocated for road projects, bridges, etc. And I think that's a really interesting and unique alignment to have someone that understands the needs that we have here. That being said, he was able to put forward a proposal as myself and others such as Councilman Potter have been attending each ADOT meeting, making sure that each of the members of the board understood the need for the project and going to the call of the public and allowing them to make their decisions. In that process, we were unable to attain at this time the entry into the 5-year plan, but that is with a caveat. The caveat being that we are attempting to get an air quality issue under control and mitigate that. We are being given preliminary reports that air quality issue will be set and finalized by February of 2014. If that happens, then there's the real potential for a few really important things falling into line. And the first is that we could be then adopted back into the 5-year plan, and if that was the case, that would create the funding mechanism to also make sure that we were able to get our Tiger grant from the federal government. With those two things falling into place, it is plausible that construction could begin from a scoping perspective as this is divided up into different phases, and that phase 1 potentially could begin in 2014. So there is some excitement on the horizon. It's not a promise yet. It's still in process and working, but I wanted to let you know that the discussion about the 347 at that ADOT meeting here this past Tuesday, when they went into session, they discussed it there, and then, furthermore, that ended up being the topic of conversation for over 2 hours. We've never as much had a mention about 347 for the most part in these official meetings, and so to have our project dominate the discussion from a state level was fascinating and frankly phenomenal. And so I just wanted to keep you apprised and updated that progress is being made on that, and we are approaching that and moving every which way in every possible direction on that as fast as we possibly can. And so we thank the board for their help, and we thank former Mayor Anderson for his help on that as well. So with that, that concludes the mayor's report. We now will have the report from the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have several announcements this evening, so I will indulge your patience and the council's patience. I would like to make some welcomes. First, we are welcoming Tom into his new role as Assistant City Manager, so congratulations, Tom. We're also welcoming Adriana as our new Deputy City Clerk, so say hello to Adriana. We're also saying goodbye to somebody. Leanne, this is her last council meeting, so I would just like to say thank you and what a pleasure it's been to work with her. She's moving to Seattle to be with her husband, so we wish her the best. Next, we have the Great American Barbecue and then a special presentation. So Jennifer will take it over for Great American Barbecue.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you see me up here every 2 weeks or so giving updates on Great American Barbecue, as the mayor alluded to, we have 2 days left, so we are very excited. First, I want to let you know we hit the $10,000 mark on sponsorships. I want to thank Oakland Construction. We'd like to thank Oakland Construction. That was our $5,000 main stage sponsor. We have our Kids Zone sponsor, which is State Farm, which is Lance Lane and Courtney Tyler at $1,500. Our Americana Game sponsor, which is Harrah's Off Chin at $1,000. And our $500 splashing sponsors are ATA Karate for Kids, Dignity Health, HealthNet of Arizona, in Maricopa, and Maricopa Smiles. Also, we've talked about that the Maricopa Chamber of Commerce will be supplying all of us with adult beverages at the event, so we're extremely happy to be working with them, and they have been a great partner so far. We have 13 food vendors and 14 spots. We have a food vendor that has so much food they took up 2 spots instead of 1. 22 business vendors will be out there with their different products and things so they can show our fabulous participants at the event some things that they sell and they can look at and touch and buy, so we're excited about that. And we have 8 nonprofits that will also be represented at our event. We also have several volunteers that we want to thank very much that will be helping us out in different areas of the event as well. The Kids Zone is, again, $3 for a wristband, and that's unlimited rides on the water slides and the different bouncers. The festivities start at 6 p.m. At 7 p.m., our band Shallow Water will hit the stage. We also have a DJ playing some different types of tunes and making announcements for us throughout the event. City program will start about 9. This is your opportunity, if you will be at the event, to come out and let the public know and say hi and a great happy birthday to our country as well. We've also got the Maricopa Police Honor Guard, and we do have Miss Arizona now, Jennifer Smithstead. So again, Miss Arizona, let's hear it for that. That's a big one. And of course, we wrap up the event with our fireworks show, because what is a 4th of July without fireworks? We do want to thank the Maricopa Unified School District for, again, providing a great shuttle service. They've been our partner now for a while here, and again, that service is so invaluable, and they do an amazing job as well. So again, you can visit our website at www.gab.maricopa-az.gov, and that will give you any information that you need about the event. It's right there at your fingertips. Hopefully, Council, you will enjoy the packets that we provided you. You've got your information, as well as hopefully everyone in the audience is feeling festive. We wanted to get everybody in that mood. But I also do want to thank the community services staff for working extremely hard to put this together, and one person in particular, and she's going to kill me for doing this again, but Brenda Campbell. Without her, this event would absolutely not be possible. So thank you very much for your support, and we hope to see everybody out there for a big bang of a time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It is my pleasure to introduce Karen Schaefer, our Human Resources Director. We are presenting our first ever City Employees of the Year. We give out 3 awards as part of our program, one to safety, one to administrative, one to managerial, and one to public safety. So I'll turn it over to Karen.
I see, I thought of just wonderful names to call you, Mayor. Honorable Mayor, and elite members of our City Council. You know I'm about to ask for something. It is my pleasure to announce the recipients of the first annual Employee Excellence Award for the City of Maricopa. This award is part of our Employee Recognition and Service Program. Nominations for this award can be made by a customer or a fellow employee. However, employees, just so you know, in the same department can't nominate each other, but their department director can nominate them. They're nominated by completing a nomination form and documenting the behavior that's exhibited throughout the year where the nominee is being evaluated. Here is a short presentation I wanted to show you just about our entire Employee Excellence Award and some of the aspects of our Employee Recognition and Service Awards programs. First, we have the Merit Coupon Award Program, which we implemented the first of last fiscal year, and we have almost 300 given during the fiscal year. That's 300 merit coupons given to our employees. By the way, thank you, citizens, for showing up, and I really appreciate you for being here. We also have an aspect of this program where we give out our 5-year service awards, and approximately 20 will be given out this year. Next year, we will actually have our first 10-year tenured person who has been at the city of Maricopa. There are 3 categories of employees nominated by May 1st for this employee award. The categories are manager, non-manager, and public safety. Nominations received for this fiscal year for each category were for those 3 categories. There's a four-person committee who votes on criteria, and they determine who will be the recipient of this award. Some of the criteria that determines whether or not these people receive the award are they have to exceed the performance rating. They have to get exceeds performance rating. They have to have excellent attendance. They must conduct themselves in a professional way, and their appearance must be conducted in a professional way. There can be no disciplinary action. They must be below the director level. They must have confidence and knowledge of job and best practices. Their attitude has to be positive and generates ideas for self and job improvement. The skills that they use must be beyond the scope of their job, and they must have excellent service to the organization. Productive work habits that show commitment and meaningful job improvement. In other words, this person goes beyond the job. They give 110%, and they work more than 8 to 5 or 7 to 6, which is our normal work hours. These recipients of the first annual Employee Excellence Award will receive a $500 net award, that's cash, not a gift certificate. They will receive 1 paid day off, that's in addition to their leave time. They will receive a certificate of recognition trophy, and their name will be inscribed on a trophy in City Hall, which, by the way, it will be our first plaque in our new City Hall, which I'm pretty excited about. I'd like to introduce at this time Ariana Cota. She is the newest member of the HR team, and she will be assisting me, and I would like the mayor and the city manager to come up and help us present these awards. We'll announce the names, and then I'd like the recipients to come up. I'll read a couple of comments by the person who nominated these employees. They'll receive their awards, they'll take pictures, and we're going to announce the names one by one, but we got big checks for them. So, the first person who is receiving the award is Mr. Brad Hinton. Brad has a pretty big check. We have the real one over here, but we just, for picture's sake. I want to read a couple of comments and kind of summarize the nomination information that was presented to us. It says, Brad Hinton never misses a beat, is always willing to take time to answer questions or provide valuable input. Brad's level of professionalism ranks among the highest. He's very well respected with contractors, designers, project managers, and teams. Brad understands the entire development review process. He knows the responsibilities of each position in the department and understands the meaning of customer service. Please give Brad a round of applause. Our next recipient, I was kind of sorry, okay, pictures? Okay. I was kind of concerned about bringing him up here because we need him back there. But the next recipient is our own Ruben Garcia. Ruben brings creativity, open-mindedness, and a team spirit to all efforts. After hours, weekends, on short notice, he goes above and beyond and has done so since 2005. It's a long time to keep it up. Let's give him a round of applause, please. We good? Thank you very much. Our next recipient, that everybody in the city probably knows, is Rebecca Mullis. Rebecca Mullis is tireless in her contributions to the city of Maricopa and the police department, oftentimes spending her scheduled days off conducting business for the department. Her demonstrated passion for excellence as well as her contagious good nature. Has anybody been around her? You come in kind of like this and you're like, hey, everything's fine. That contagious good nature results in positive relations and partnerships with the internal and external stakeholders she deals with on a regular basis. Please give Rebecca a round of applause. I'm going to put their names up there, and I'm just going to tell you that the plaque that will go in City Hall reads, "The City of Maricopa, who is proud, has a proud history and prosperous future. This Employee Excellence Award is presented to Ruben Garcia, Brad Hinton, and Rebecca Mullis for the fiscal year 2012 and 2013. And we will be displaying this. I'm going to hold on to this until we get to the new City Hall, but it'll be up there. Thank you. And thank you all to the recipients for your service to the City of Maricopa. We really appreciate you. And Ariana is giving you your real check. Thank you very much.
Technical difficulties. Okay. With that, we're going to move. We appreciate the report from the city manager, and congratulations again to those that won. We appreciate it. I also want to, at this time, open the call to the public, and this is your opportunity to come and address the council. You're going to be limited to 3 minutes, as there's a lot of people in this room and a lot to get to tonight. But I do have 2 people that have needs to go first if they're here. First was Maricopa Little League President Mark R. Are you here, Mark? Yes. And then if the CERT team is here, I'd like the CERT team to come up afterwards. CERT here today, okay, so we'll do that next time then. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sorry, it's my 11th son's birthday today, so I'm expected at home tonight. Okay, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, I'm here tonight to recommend allowing the City of Maricopa to manage the Copper Sky Recreation Center.
I've been involved with Maricopa Little League for the last 4.5 years. As I have become involved more, I was told of a lot of difficulty in the beginning with the city and the league providing assets to make our program run well. In the past couple of years, I've been the president of our league and have seen quite a difference. It's been much easier to get communication and fields that we need to provide baseball and softball to over 500 kids. With Monica Rubio, Jennifer Campbell, and David Aviles, they're always available at any time I call. Sometimes I call them at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and they always answer their phones and are quick to try to help us. So I think we have great people in place that are running our park system for us and blend well with our league. I think it's in our city's best interest to have our city's assets run by people that live in our town. I know several of them do live here, and a lot of our other employees, and I think they're the people that know best what our people want as citizens. Being involved with Little League, there is one thing that I've been hearing today, and I am used to a lot of misinformation going around and rumors that turn out not to be true, but I've had several families from my league contact me today about potential fees that could be as high as $95 a month for a family to be able to go to this facility. I don't know that it's true. As I said, it could be nothing more than a rumor, but I know a lot of our families deal with the difficulty of paying $100 to play one season during the year with our Little League, let alone a monthly fee. So I would hope that one of the main and highest priorities with the Copper Sky complex is that we try to make it affordable for everyone in our community to use, not just people that are in better financial situations. In closing, I would like to ask that we would entrust the city of Maricopa with running the Copper Sky facility. I believe it'll create jobs for our residents of our community. I worry that a third party that would come in and do that, will they be bringing people from places they already have and bringing them up and promoting them to come to our town and commute every day versus potentially hiring people that live here in our town and providing more good jobs instead of just more retail jobs, which seems to be the main, that type of jobs that we have. Other than that, MMLL is excited. We're looking forward to the new fields and the new facility in 2014. We really look forward and hope that we can partner with the City of Maricopa again going forward. As I said, with the grant that the City Council had provided us with and everything else, it's been just a great run for the last 2 years, and we really look forward to going in a positive note like we have, and have concerns about doing that to someone where bottom line might be more important. In closing, I just have one other thing about the new facilities that I would like to see considered. At this point, I've been told all the fields are going to be the hard surface. We would ask that one field at least has grass. I don't care if it's at Pecana or the new facility, but one that has grass and mound for baseball. I know for our needs, and I think we're one of the bigger baseball programs in town, we have 6 softball teams this year and 24 baseball teams. So it's a 4-to-1 ratio of what we need for baseball versus softball, and it's pretty similar to what we've had in the past. So I would ask that you would reconsider that, or as I said, even at Pecana, but give us somewhere where we have at least one field where we can play baseball with grass. So thank you very much for your time.
That was the end of those that I had listed. Again, it's open mic to anyone who would like to come and speak to us at this time. Again, the council typically does not respond, and we ask that you please keep your decorum and go from there. You have about 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Please state your name.
Mayor, Council, real quickly, I just want to throw out another plug for the Great American Barbecue. Last year, I was deployed to Afghanistan as an Apache pilot, and at 17, I made the decision to join the military. I knew what that meant. When I got married, my wife knew I was in the military. She understood what that meant. And then we had children. And 2 children later, I get deployed, and I didn't realize the impact a deployment has on children. I didn't recognize the sacrifice they make. And so while I was deployed, ourmilitarykids.org contacted my wife and provided her with a scholarship for my daughter, for an athletic scholarship. So for our last 4th of July was special for my wife and family as I was deployed. My wife has decided to give back, and so we've decided to do a booth at the Great American Barbecue for ourmilitarykids.org. So we'll be raising funds. It's the face painting booth, and we'll be asking for donations for the face paintings. We're also doing a raffle. We have a gun range that donated a year membership, Papa John's donated 5 pizzas, and we have some other organizations that donated. And so we want to invite everyone to come to it, make sure they pass by the face painting, whether they like their faces painted or not, and come check us out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Court?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I just wanted to ask a quick question. Because of the earlier public comment with regard to agenda item 10.2, I just wanted to make sure we'd be able to make comment then, or would you?
Absolutely. I have a whole list of speaker cards
Okay,
here.
great.
We will
I just
address
wanted to
those
make sure.
options when we get there.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're absolutely welcome. And Nancy, I think I have 4 speaker cards here from you. So you can't speak 4 times.
I have
I'm
a
sorry.
lot to say, but not 4 times. What I thought is that I put the agenda item in the wrong spot, so I thought, well, I don't want to get caught on that glitch. I want to be able to speak.
No
So,
worries.
Anyway. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Nancy Smith, and I live in Rancho El Dorado in Maricopa. I'm here first to speak about transparency. It's something that I'm passionate about. I believe you all are passionate about it, and I have a couple concerns that I've been dealing with over the last couple weeks. The first is the IGA intergovernment agreement between the city and the Auction Indian community. I have 2 points on it. The first is regard to, I know you remember the May 7th special presentation of the offer to give the city of Maricopa from the auction, $7 million from Copper Sky Regional Park, for Copper Sky. I honestly believe, and I've talked with you all, that that was the cart before the horse, as the details of this offer weren't even identified at that point. And so I have a real concern about that. I also am concerned that it left the perception with the people in the audience, with my friends, family, people that I talked to, that it was a gift. And when I talked to them about this and I explained that it most likely is not a gift, which, by the way, I don't have a problem with in terms of what I think it is an IGA, an intergovernment agreement. I have a problem with the fact that most people walked away with the idea that it was a gift. I've been around government long enough to know that it probably wasn't. It most likely was an IGA. And as I indicated, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. However, the next 2 days, the media, our 2 big media outlets, identified it in big bold letters as a gift. And so I was concerned about that misperception. It's huge. It has an impact on our city complex that we're talking about. And I felt strongly that I needed to start meeting with you. So I started meeting with most of you the very following week. And if you put the timeline together, at that point, you had not had your first executive session on it. And so you were actually honest with me and shared with me what you knew about it at that time. And I appreciate that openness and honesty. However, I shared with those that I talked to that I had a concern that the misperception needed to be cleared up. And I felt that that was very important for ongoing communication, correcting the misconception. It's a simple gesture of transparency to correct the misconception, because I believe most of you agreed with me that with the big highlights in the newspaper, there was a big misconception. Today, I've not seen a correction on that information, and I still feel like the majority of people think it's a gift, and they're not looking for an IGA so that they can study an IGA when it comes out. And I think that's a huge problem with transparency. The second point, recently I asked most of you, when this IGA comes out, how long would the public have to look at it? And most of you said the normal, whatever it is, 24, 48 hours. This is huge. You have given cell towers 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. This is huge. People need time to look at it, look at the points, look at the IGA, see if they feel comfortable with it. Please, I beg you, transparency. Give this thing the light of day so people can see it, understand it. Most likely, they won't have a problem with it, right? But give them the time to see what is being exchanged between the 2 cities for this $7 million. My last item, if you just give me a couple seconds, is a third-party management contract that we're talking about tonight. This item has been worked for 14 months, yet the public has getting their first information, if we're getting information, tonight on this item. City Council will discuss and possibly take action to either continue or stop. Stop? Why would we stop at this point? We have no information. There are no details shared on this topic. The public has not seen what the third party has to offer, the cost, or the programs. I love hearing from the Maricopa Little League. It's really cool. But he doesn't know what the costs are going to be for the city. He doesn't know what the costs are going to be for the third party. So to stop this process is, again, a lack of transparency. And I ask you, shed more light, shed transparency, let the people see the facts, let the people know what's going on, let them compare these two options, because, by the way, competition is one of the best ways for the most economical solution. Transparency, transparency, transparency. Thank you, and I thank you for your service, and I'll talk to you again later.
Anyone else that wishes to address us in public? Mayor Anderson.
Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Farrell, members of the council. My name's Kelly Anderson. As Mayor, you duly noted, I serve on the ADOT board. It was hard for me to contain my frustration last Tuesday in terms of not getting that $40 million that I got in Pine Top. And Mayor, you probably saw that I was a little hard to contain myself. In fact, it got me in trouble with the paper this week. But this community makes my job a lot easier. Most communities come to the board with their hand out. Gimme, gimme, gimme for our road project. We're doing the opposite. We're bringing money, we're bringing ideas, we're bringing partnerships and getting things done. And that's rung a tone with the rest of the board members, and that's why they supported me fully on the $40 million. So I want to commend the council. In fact, this started back in 2003. When we started this party, we did this for this type of reason. And the analogy I spoke of was like running a 10-year marathon and being 6 months short. If we had that scoping done, we'd have been in the plan, would have been good to go. The last thing I want to point out is the partnership, the relationship with the auction community is huge in this endeavor. They bring a lot of, not just the financial, but they bring a lot of other types of opportunities. And the state's taking notice of that. There's no other community, there's no other stakeholders who are doing this type of project. So I think the city needs to be commended. Mayor, you're there. Leon, you're there as well at the board meetings. And it's a huge commitment to travel to those meetings, but those relationships are important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. The city of Maricopa should embrace the operation of its facility itself. In 2008, when this issue was rolled out to the board in public, it was done under the promise that the city will run and staff this facility. The YMCA is an IRS classified nonprofit, which is somewhat misleading the public, because residents who use the facility will pay a property tax as well as use fee, sorry. Who do we pay, the YMCA or the city? If the YMCA runs this facility, the operating cost will be high because they will hire directors, managers, and coordinators. That cost will pass on to us. If the city runs this facility, the cost will be minimized because we already have competitive running peoples running part-time rate line. We got Ms. Jennifer Campbell, Maria, David, and others who are ready for the next challenge. And we should give them the opportunity. I do not feel the YMCA is a total waste. It's just not our great option. It's a great option for big cities, but we're not ready for that kind of organizations to come in here. The YMCA has failed in places like Awatuki and Santan City because of poor management or lack of membership. Do not let this happen to the city of Maricopa. Thank you.
Thank you. And sir, could you state your name for us?
My name is Ricardo Correa. I'm the owner of the Maricopa Mustangs.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Appreciate it. Mr. Wade.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. Henry Wade, 42581 West Mile Drive. I've been listening and actually reaching out to some of the council members in reference to this conversation about whether or not the item of question, the $7 million, $7.8 million is a gift or a grant from our neighbors. I'm still a little fuzzy on it. I kind of agree in some regards that it was misrepresented in the newspapers in terms of what it actually was supposed to be and whether or not there are strings attached to it. But I do know that we live in a community that is an island, that we're surrounded by Native Americans all around us, and that we are in fact getting along with our neighbors very well, and our neighbors show us respect and consideration when they make offers that they've made. And so if there's a question about whether or not it's a gift or a grant, make sure that we clarify that, get some transparency on that. But let's make sure that we're right about what we're doing as far as support and getting support from the neighbors that we get. We have to work together with those neighbors. Their children go to our schools, they participate in our events, they support us in every endeavor that we've ever actually asked them for. And so I think that if we can get past our little community inter-squabble and deal with what we need to do as far as getting the support from the communities that want to support us, let's move forward with that. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you very much. At this time, anyone else? I'll call the public. All right, we'll move on then. Thank you very much for your comments. At this time, we're going to move to agenda item 7.1 is the approval of the minutes. 7.2. Can I have a motion to approve, please? So moved. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we now have a public hearing. I'm going to read the public hearing notice at CUP 13-01. The Mayor and City Council shall hear public comment on conditional use permit 13-01, a request by In-Command Communications on behalf of Verizon Wireless for a proposed co-location microwave antenna to be located at the Maricopa Town Center Commercial Center. That's 44870 West Hathaway Road. This is the opportunity, if you wish to speak on this item only, you may do so. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at this time, and we will move on to consent. On the consent agenda, we have item 9.1 and 9.3, as item 9.2 has been pulled. Is there any questions or concerns on this? If not, I will ask for a motion.
So moved to approve consent with the exception of 9.2.
So we have a motion. Can we have a second? Second. Motion and second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. At this time, I would ask the council if it would be appropriate if we might take a 5-minute break. And the reason for this is I have a number of speaker cards, and with that, there's not going to be the potential opportunity for everybody to speak tonight on the items of 10.2, 10.3. Just so you know, the items 10.2 and 10.3 will be opened simultaneously, and we will allow that discussion to take place, so if you wish to speak on that. But what I would like to do is I would like to ask all those who have submitted speaker cards at this point, if you would like to speak, I would like to offer 5 people from each side, whether you would like to have this to be closed or stopped, or if you're in support of the YMCA or a third party or against, if you can separate yourselves and let's have one group of people go over here and discuss of those 5 of those that have submitted speaker cards, select 5 people that you would like to speak. And by the same token, those who are against go to this side of the room and select 5 people from your group to speak and address us as well. I will go through each of the cards and let each person be named on the record, and you may say which one you are for or against, and we can go down that path. Okay? So with that, I would like to offer it up, if council, if you're okay with that, we'll take a 5-minute break to do so. So, again, this side if you are for the proposal, this side if you're against the proposal. Okay? Yeah, ready, set, motion, go. Yeah. Receiving is those in favor of a third party. Even though the agenda item, let's clarify the agenda item.
Why don't you name everybody that wants to talk in the item and let them go either for...
That's a great idea. Okay. So let me read the agenda item just so we're clear. Mayor and City Council shall discuss and possibly take action to provide staff direction regarding contract negotiations relative to the Multi-Gen and Aquatic Center Partnership Request for Proposal. Okay. So at this time, we have Henry Wade. Henry, would you like to, we're not going to call you up to speak at this moment because we're not to that agenda item, simply just offering you the opportunity, do you wish to speak in favor of what? I'm asking you, are you a third party or a...
Wow. Put me on the spot, Mr. Mayor, in that there is that transparency issue that is still to be resolved. So without clarification on that and knowing if there is or is not something attached to that, it's very difficult to say yes or no on either side.
That's true.
Okay. How do you propose? You want to let them all talk? Okay. If council's amenable to that, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that if council's okay with it. You're okay with that? Yes. To address the council?
Just explain what the agenda item actually is in layman's terms as opposed to
Sure.
Mr. Mayor?
RFP or have it be city run. That's it. So if you're either against you're with stopping or continuing with the RFP or having it city run, and then you can split yourselves up. Then come down.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
So ultimately, it's continuing with the RFP process or stopping it and having it be city run. It's one of the two. There's going to be no explanation on, I don't think, on monies and IGAs and all that, because that's not on the council agenda. So if you wanted an explanation on an IGA, you're not going to get it because it's not on the agenda. So you're either for continuing with the RFP or you're for having it be city run, I guess, in layman's terms.
Well, again, back to this, if the council's okay with it, I have absolutely no problem with letting everybody speak. I was just trying to simply move the process along, but if the council's amenable to it, then I'm absolutely fine with it. So, you okay? Okay, sounds great. Perfect. That saves that, and I apologize for the confusion, so my apologies. With that, then, we'll move right directly into Councilwoman Chapados. We're at 9.2. That was your poll. 10.1, we'll get there. We haven't got there yet. 9.2, the agenda, the consent agenda always comes first. Councilwoman Chapados, you have 9.2 pulled, it goes on the forefront of the regular agenda. So
Yes.
What would you like to do? Clarification, questions, concerns?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to propose to council that we table this motion. This is significant services to the city of Maricopa. By comparison, this is one of 3 positions that council approves and appoints. We basically have a one-page, almost an offer, as opposed to a comprehensive contract like we do for the city manager services. For those of you who may not be aware, we've recently had some significant personnel changes in our legal services department. I would just like an opportunity to maybe do a little bit of evaluation, talk a little bit more with the city attorney about what those changes mean in terms of impacting how council deals with different issues, and maybe have something a little bit more detailed come back to us for approval. I realize we can't do that tonight, but put it on as soon as we can schedule for an e-session, that would be my request.
Okay, is that something you want to do tonight in the form of moving it to the back of the agenda and having an e-session on it tonight, or is it something that you want to truly table?
I'm not sure we have the option to discuss it tonight.
You could discuss it tonight.
Oh, it's on the
Put
agenda.
to the back of the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
We're allowed to do that under 11.1, any item on the agenda, so we can move it to the back of the agenda and have executive session.
Given the enormity of the decisions that we're going to be making tonight, I would say I would agree to whatever the pleasure of council is. I'm fine waiting, I'm fine discussing it tonight.
Council, which would you
Discuss it tonight.
Okay, so we'll move it to the back of the agenda and move it to e-session if that's... Okay, so then I don't think we need a motion for it, we'll just move it to the back. So 9.2 will be moved after 10.5, after e-session. Okay, great. With that, moving on to 10.1 then. 10.1, the mayor and city council share a presentation from the Greater Phoenix Economic Council and possibly take action to approve an updated agreement between the Greater Phoenix Economic Council and the city of Maricopa in the amount of $25,853 to be paid from this fiscal year 2013-14 general fund, economic development, membership, and dues. It's for discussion and action. Micah.
Good evening, member and council. Tonight we have before you the fiscal year 13-14 GPAC annual contract, and to provide an overview of GPAC activities to date, I have Mr. Brad Schmidt from Greater Phoenix Economic Council. He's the Vice President for Business Development. I think he may be the most popular person in economic development around the country. I think you know just about every site selector and professional real estate consultant. So we're lucky to have his talents in our backyard to utilize. With that, I'll turn it over to Brad, and I have a few items to disperse, and I have one for the city clerk also. One is a benefits report on investing in GPEC, as well as the most recent Economic Development Directors Team Prospect Summary Report.
Well, good evening, Mayor, member of the council, members of the council. I'd like to do a brief presentation tonight. I know you have some, sounds like some very interesting things on your agenda tonight, so I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. But I did want to start by congratulating Micah. He has been voted by his peers in economic development as our vice chair of our economic development directors team for this upcoming year, and we look forward to his leadership. So we look forward to his leadership not only this year, but as he moves into the chairman role in the next fiscal year as well. So congratulations, Micah. I hit this here. There we go. As many of you probably know, the Greater Phoenix Economic Council was founded in 1989. We're coming up to our 25th year in economic development activities for the Greater Maricopa County area. We do provide site selection services in supporting data, real estate, labor analysis, and so forth. We provided that to over 200 clients this last 12 months and to over 280 clients in our current prospect portfolio. We do foster partnerships with companies that are considering the market and new companies into the region with key business leaders, such as leaders in the workforce development connections areas with the universities and a lot of our private sector membership as well. We are supported by the county, currently 21 cities, and over 150 private sector investors, ranging anywhere from utilities, construction development, architects, and so forth, that like to see their private funds matched by public dollars and vice versa. So I'm proud to say that we've had a great fiscal year. We've broken another record in terms of number of locates and jobs for the region. We've assisted 36 companies this last fiscal year in their expansion and relocation activities into the marketplace. Over 5,000 jobs and $700 million in capital investment for the area, and almost 4 million square feet of new space that have been occupied by these companies. We've been recognized for our excellence in economic development throughout the country. We were named the #1 economic development group in the U.S. in a survey of site location consultants. These are major corporations like Ernst & Young and Deloitte and others that do location consulting services for their client, their firm's clients. And in another survey, we were ranked #2. So we've been highly ranked in terms of our economic development services on a nationwide basis by companies and their consulting groups that they work with. We weren't able to do this without the help of our communities, and which Maricopa is part of, and we'd like to continue this partnership for the upcoming year and in the future. Our 5-year vision in terms of our main activities and initiatives include these areas. I won't go into too much detail on all of them, but obviously business attraction is a key part of our fiscal year initiatives in terms of attracting new companies in different industries such as business services, manufacturing, aerospace, clean tech, renewable energies, mission critical, and so on, healthcare and others. On the market intelligence side, we're doing our best to maintain and develop best-in-class market intelligence model. Many of you may have seen the report we did on the aerospace industry and retaining those key employees in that area as we deal with some possible effects of sequestration in the not only the region but across the U.S. as a whole. On the innovation side, we're working with the communities to really elevate the region as a leading center of emerging technology and information communication technologies, educational IT and others, healthcare and other biotech areas. And on the branding side, we're working with the Arizona Commerce Authority and others to successfully define the region and the state as an area that's forward-thinking, innovative, and business-friendly for many types of companies. The earned media side, we work a lot with national and international publications. This last year, we had over 1 billion looks on different articles on the region and the state, and we have full-time staff dedicated to really getting out the word and activities and positive things that are happening in the region and the state. Kind of focusing in on our business development side, which I am heavily involved in. We obviously spent a lot of time in California, as California continues to do their best to make that state as business unfriendly as possible, including things like Prop 30 that not only have they taxed businesses, but now they're continuing to tax higher wealth individuals, which is leading towards more interest in not only companies, but the owners of those companies relocating to the state and to the region. We are also replicating this model to Chicago. We recently sent an email campaign over 500 businesses in the Chicago area, talking about the business-friendly environment of Arizona versus Illinois. You may not be aware, but they're actually raising corporate income tax rates while ours are going the opposite way and lowering. And then we took advantage of doing this in December when it's nice and cold in Chicago and a great climate here in Arizona. We continue to work with our national site selectors and identifying possible company relocation projects for the region and for Maricopa. Expanding our transactional capabilities, working with our community building consortium, for example, really to define and address areas in the region in terms of shortages we may have in warehouse distribution facilities, and now even with some of the projects lately that have been announced, even in the office sector. So this is important as about 85% of our clients that we work with look to locate in existing buildings, primarily because of timing. By the time they get to our doorstep, they've already made the decision they need to relocate, and timing is of the utmost importance. We're also working, obviously, on our China strategy. It's called the Z Corridor, primarily in Shanghai and renewable energy and other sectors. So we'll continue our international efforts, not only in China, but Europe and across Canada, especially in Eastern Canada. Our current activity, again, as I mentioned earlier, we have over 280 prospects that we're currently working with. Actually, our fiscal 13 prospects has been updated to over 215. If all these companies were to locate, you see the capital investment potential and over 43 jobs that potentially could happen in the region with over 24 million square feet of potential absorption. Just back to the California 50, actually our California 100 program, many of you probably heard about when we went out after California passed Prop 30 and made available to qualified California CEOs the ability to visit the region at our expense, and so we could show them the opportunities, real estate and labor opportunities in the area. At the time, over 60 reached out to us. We're working with about a little over 35 right now that have been qualified. There are many that just kind of wanted a free trip that, after working with them, realized that maybe it wasn't a great opportunity for the Phoenix area. But so expanded that to the California 100 program. And again, we'll continue to market the area and the region into California as that's a target-rich environment. And finally, I just wanted to end with, in terms of our public-private investment model, we do look at returns on investment for our communities. And, right now we have a 5-year trend of about, $8 in return net that tax returns to the community for every $1 invested, and we'd like to continue to see the investment by Maricopa and continue to work with your city staff and community to market the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Questions, council?
Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Potter.
How long has City of Maricopa been a member of GPEC so far?
Mayor, Councilmember Potter, Maricopa has been a member of GPEC since 2009.
2008?
2009.
2009?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that's before that.
Okay.
Before that. Kelly Anderson, you could say.
Started
So at least 5 years? At least 5 years? Okay. And since that time, and forgive me that I do have something to go for, but since that time, how many leads or projects have come from actual GPEC membership? Can you pinpoint to that?
Mayor, Councilmember Potter, are you asking about leads or locates within the community?
Locates with both. Locates the community and leads in general.
Exact number. In terms of locates, we haven't had any locates to date, but prospect activity, we respond to prospects that we're eligible to respond to with either building product that suits the needs, which is minimal, or build-to-suit projects. I believe this year we've responded to 20 E-Tracks through GPEC.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that, because on the surface, it would seem that maybe it hasn't been a good investment over the last 5 years, but having, just in my role, just seeing just recently, I think, and Mayor, you might be able to address this, being appointed to the Ambassadors Committee chairmanship on GPEC, that are seated with that, and I believe the mayors went on a DC trip recently to help influence some economic development. I think there's been a lot of headway in getting traction. So, and seeing it firsthand and everything in the presentation tonight, I think we're in a good spot. I think we still have things to work on as a city, and we're putting those in motion. But as like I said, a skeptic may say, well, it hasn't paid off. But the key word, I think, is yet, and I think that's still going to come with the hard work that's been put in place, that we continue to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Chapados?
No questions, Mayor, but I want to echo what Councilmember Potter said, that I had the pleasure of attending the most recent regional board meeting of GPEC, and it was both educational and exciting to see what you guys have planned for the future and the efforts that are in place as we speak in other parts of the world and other parts of the state and the nation to help get that business and drive that economic development here. So I agree that while this is an investment that we have to look at long-term, but we are at the table, we are playing, and we are making a name for Maricopa with your partnership, so thank you.
I would just echo that. I mean, obviously, we have much to get to tonight, but the reality is that economic development is one of the trickiest things in the book. It's like holding onto a balloon, and every time you grab one side, the other side inflates or deflates, and it just gets really tricky to hold on to. But the reality of it is that you've got to always be there. You have to be in people's minds and people's Rolodexes, and you've got to be constantly present. We have a really unique amount of stars that have lined up in Micah being the chair in your respective field, and I've also been named the chair with over 1,000 members that apply to the GPEC program, being both CEOs and other companies as well as cities. And so I know that recommendation came from our neighbor, Goodyear, and Mayor Lord in Goodyear recommended me and this city for that, and they are able to directly show that being constantly present in those as an ambassador to these new businesses, that they were able to bring multiple businesses to Goodyear. And so it's constantly being in front of people, and that's what it's all about. So again, I really appreciate the council's support. I know that this council is always at economic development things, but constantly GPEC is one of our greatest marketing quantifiable amounts for us to be able to get out there and show what are the strategies, what are the numbers, and how is this helping us in performing. So I think there are great things ahead with that. I appreciate it. Any other comments, questions, concerns? With that, can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve 10.1.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on 10.1? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now we move to 10.2 and 10.3. Again, we will let all people speak, so I really appreciate the council's patience for that. In that process, the way this is going to happen is that we are going to first have Patty come up. There we go. Patty is going to come up and do some explanation for the council and the public on the way the processes work and why we are here today. And with that, then we will have a presentation by Jennifer on the org chart as that pertains, so that council and the population are aware of that. And then we will move to the speaker cards. After the speaker cards, we've heard everybody's comments, then we will move to council discussion. Okay? Please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I am Patty Lacombe, Purchasing Manager for the City of Maricopa, and I'm here to explain a little bit about the processes for a RFP, which is a request for proposal. It is an administrative process that municipalities and government agencies use for open and fair competition on any purchases that are done. The process must remain confidential, and that is part of the state procurement code. So anything in the administrative process is confidential until a recommendation for a contract award is presented to the governing board or the council members.
Okay. Any other
Any questions or anything else you'd like to?
You need clarified?
Mayor?
Okay. Yes, Councilwoman?
Patty, for clarification's sake, if there is an RFP process out there, and as part of the response, the contents of that response do not match the specifications in the proposal, what happens?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman, it is a process that if it doesn't match the specifications, and those specs are defined by the project manager, then that goes into negotiations. And we try to come to an agreement to match those specifications, because that is what we're looking for. We're not looking for something that is halfway in between the two of them. We're looking for something to address what was actually put into the specifications.
So, just for my own clarification, the difference between not meeting the specific items called for versus going outside of the scope of the proposal, would the process be the same?
If it was outside of the scope of the proposal, it would be a material change to that proposal, and we would have to go back and start all over again, because we have to give fair and open competition to anyone else, because we are changing the guidelines that we want the respondents to submit a proposal to.
So is that would apply if the city changed the scope or if the respondent changed part of the scope?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Chapados, it applies to both the city and the vendor, because either party, if they come to the table and say, I want to change the scope, we have to negotiate with the vendor and say, no, this is our scope. You meet this, or we'll go on to the next submittal. If the city changes it, then the city can say, okay, we're changing it. We are putting this on hold. We're canceling this one. We are going to post it and say, this is the new scope for this project. Any other questions?
Questions at this time? Nope. You stick around in case there are. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I'm in the back row.
Thank you. Thanks, Patty. Jennifer?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight, I present to you the Community Services Department reorganization. As you are well aware, we have 2 new facilities that will be opening up in the spring of 2014, and that would be the Copper Sky Regional Complex, and that consists of the Multi-Gen and Aquatic Center as well as the park. The complex will be open spring of 2014. The complex has a 52,000 square foot multi-gen and aquatic center with a splash pad and 2 pools, and a 98-acre park. Staff is needed to operate and maintain the 2 facilities. We'll start out with the Copper Sky Regional Park. We need positions for the administration and maintenance of the park. The staff that's being requested is a parks manager that would oversee the entire parks division. That would also include Pecana and Lexington as well, anything within our park division. There would be 2 crew leaders. Those would be 2 leaders that would head up crews made up of full-time as well as part-time workers to carry out the duties that need to be completed at the park. There would be a designated irrigation tech. You can imagine with 98 acres, there's a lot of irrigation lines in order to water all the turf and the plants. So there would be a designated person just in charge of irrigation. We would have 8 full-time parks workers and 6 part-time parks workers. Again, that would be mowing, dragging, lining, repairs, cleaning, all the type of different park duties that are involved in taking care of such a facility. The Copper Sky Multi-Gen Aquatic Center. How the center will be managed will determine the staffing needs for the facility. The regional complex will also expand the opportunities to grow the current recreation programs and create new programs. One of the things that we have talked about before in front of council is the ability to bring in different events to this complex, not just ones that the city puts on, but ones from outside as well. So that would be, we want positions that would help to bring more attention to Maricopa in a great light and to really be able to market the new complex that we have. So the first is option B. This would be if the third party managed a facility. Positions are needed to manage the contract and assist with the recreation programs at the new complex. One of the things is current recreation staff will be moved to this multi-gen and aquatic facility. Also, current recreation programs that the city does run will also move into this facility. There are several places throughout the community which we hold classes and programs because we don't have a facility of our own, and many of them can move into there. Also, with a third-party managed facility, there would obviously be a contract that would need to be managed to make sure that everything is upheld in that as well. So staff needed for third-party management would be a recreation manager, and again, that recreation manager would oversee the entire division for recreation. So that would be all the recreational activities that would occur in both the multi-gen and aquatic facility as well as what would happen in the park. And then there'd be a special events and marketing manager. That's the person that would now head up our special events department and division, as well as being able to market. As you know, we want to get the word out about the different types of programs that we have. There are different ways such as websites and flyers and ads. And of course, there'll be branding that goes along with this. So we need somebody who is able to help to market this facility in order to make sure that it's used properly and to the best of its ability. Also, there'd be various part-time staff that would assist with the various programs that we currently run and also help with special events. This is the org chart for the third-party managed facility. I know it looks a little big, a little hard to see, but it basically starts out with the community services director, management analyst, and as you notice, we would basically have 3 division heads. There would be the library manager, the recreation manager, and the parks manager. And it's very important to make sure that your organization is linear. So this way, if you have a division head for each of the departments, it makes it very fair and consistent, and it also helps for reporting and delegating as well. And then underneath each of those positions, you can see the various positions, some that I talked about as far as crew leaders, irrigation techs, parks maintenance workers, and as well as some of the special events and marketing manager. And also, if you notice, it does take into account management of current staff that we have here in the division and department. Next up is the city-managed facility. Positions are needed to operate and maintain the facility. Obviously, if it was city-managed and city-run, we would require many different positions. Again, we would have a recreation manager to oversee the center operations and as far as the division as well. You'd have the special events and marketing manager that would go ahead and, again, special events as well as marketing both the multi-gen as well as the park. There would be a fitness coordinator in charge of the fitness center and the various programs to be run in that center. The aquatics coordinator that would run the aquatic facility and the various programs that would be run there. The front desk and membership coordinator, that would be a person that would oversee front desk operations as well as generate interest in memberships and give tours. There would be a front desk membership recreation services lead. As you know, with this facility, it's looking at being open about 100 hours a week, so even though they may be salaried positions, I don't think anyone's going to be willing to work 100 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. So this would be another person that would assist that membership coordinator and front desk coordinator. There'd be a facility maintenance coordinator, and this is the person who would take care of the facility. So when you have an electrical problem, an air conditioning problem, something breaks, this would be the person that would either fix it or again contract out to have someone fix it as well. With a department this large, we're looking at adding an admin assistant. You can imagine that's, we've got several full-time positions. The part-time positions are up to like 100 part-time positions, depending on what we have. That is timesheets, and those are employee evaluations. That's different administrative duties that the recreation manager, park manager, and library manager will not be able to necessarily do themselves with all of the management, so we're looking at an administrative assistant. And then various aquatic recreation custodial positions, such as your lifeguards, your swim instructors, fitness attendants to work in the fitness center, child watch. So those are various part-time positions that would be in the city. And that is the org chart for a city-managed facility. So if you notice, it does grow quite a bit and exponentially. But again, you have the director, admin assistant, management analyst, and then you have your various managers that would lead your divisions within the Parks, Rec, and Library Department. Department reclassifications. There are several positions in the department that need to be reclassified due to actual current duties and responsibilities. Obviously, if we have new facilities coming on board, that may also expand, but due to the current duties that they have, these are positions that really do need to be reclassified at this time. We're looking to reclassify an admin assistant to a management analyst. Currently, in the department, we have many high-level projects and things that have to be worked on, and really it's worked on at that management analyst level, and it's currently being worked on at that. So we're looking to go ahead and reclassify that position. We're looking to reclassify a recreation coordinator to a parks crew leader. That individual is actually maintaining Pecana Park and needs to have a job description commensurate with what they do. The youth coordinator, recreation coordinator, and a community services director to a higher pay grade. So that you know, there are financial impacts to the administrative assistant to a management analyst, to the recreation coordinator to a parks crew leader, and for the youth coordinator. There are no financial impacts to move one of the recreation coordinators and the community services director to a higher salary plan, so there is no economic impact for those two positions. So recommendations. Regardless of how the center is managed, staff recommends approval of A and D to revise the organizational structure and add staff to operate and maintain the regional park, which has always been a responsibility of the city, and reclassify several positions in the department to match their current duties so that we are basically compensating people for doing the jobs that they currently are doing now. If the city is to manage the center, then approval C will add the staff necessary to manage and operate the center. And if the city is to contract for a third party to operate the center, then approval B will be to add to have a manager, operator for that contract, meaning the rec manager, and then again the special events and marketing coordinator and various part-time positions to just help with some of the current programs that we run. Any questions?
Council, any questions on this presentation thus far?
I did have a quick question.
Councilman Gussie.
How many individuals' bodies would be housed at the multi-gen?
Currently, it would be 7 bodies.
Any other questions at this time? Okay, seeing none, let's stay close and let's move to the public.
Thank you.
We'll start here with Court Rich. If you would like to please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. For your records, Court Rich with the Rose Law Group today, here on behalf of the Valley of the Sun YMCA. I also have Ron Chambliss with me, who's Senior Operations with the Valley of the Sun YMCA. I think a little history is probably a good place to start, and it's been about 2 years now that the YMCA has been in the community and working with the community towards this community partnership model. And over that time period, the council before you and this council have taken 3, 4, maybe even 5 votes to move that forward. In fact, the previous council even voted to just go with a third-party provider, and this council, I think, wisely decided, let's go through an RFP process, and let's put the city-run facility side by side with a facility that would be a partnership between, someone like the YMCA and the city. And so this agenda item tonight, I think, is a little bit interesting in that you made the decision to go through the RFP process, and I think that decision, you wouldn't have made that decision had you not been looking to, at some point, be able to put the two proposals side by side and say, this one beats this one because, it does this or that. But the proposal tonight on the agenda is just to stop now. So after 2 years and 3 or 4 or 5 council votes encouraging this to keep going, the option is you're almost at the finish line. You almost know what the YMCA will offer as a partnership with the city, but you're not going to get there if you vote in the negative tonight to just stop that process. And so frankly, I think the message that sends to the world is interesting, that it's kind of an odd business arrangement to try to come to Maricopa and be urged on by the council, and then just when you get to the end, it just, we would like to be judged on a fair playing field and actually have our contract before you. And I think that brings me to the next point. Throughout this entire process, the YMCA hasn't had the opportunity to sit down with staff and/or council and the mayor, if they'd like, and talk about the actual final details. The tentative award letter, or the award letter, was given out to the YMCA, and then they were asked to just submit a contract. Well, they proposed a community shared partnership model. You don't just impose that on the community. You sit down and you talk about what those terms are. I know some in this room have decided that they don't want the YMCA to come in and partner with the city. But I'd ask them, what are they against? Are they against the YMCA providing lower cost memberships to the community? Because I don't think they're against that. Are they against the YMCA saving the city potentially half a million dollars a year in operating expenses? The report that you all commissioned last year in April by your consultant said that in the most likely scenario, when the city runs it, you're going to lose over $500,000 a year on your general fund. I don't think they're against that concept. Are they against the YMCA hiring exclusively people from Maricopa to run this facility? I'm sure they're not against that. Are they against the world-class programming and the experience that the YMCA brings to the table? I'm sure they're not against that either. So I don't understand why we wouldn't get to that point where we can look at what they're offering. These are all things that they've proposed. And to the extent that the Ak-Chin community grant or arrangement is part of this, let's all get in a room and talk about if there's a way that these guys can work with the city and work with the Ak-Chin community to make that money go farther, to do even more good. I mean, this is an opportunity for the city. Cities around the valley have reached out to get help. I mean, this is a situation where a nonprofit comes in. They can offer all these good things to the community. And so it's an opportunity for you all. And I'm going to turn it over to Ron in 1 second. But I did want to point out, for example, you just did a deal with GPAC. They are a third party. You have an economic development group within your city, and they know that if they partner with another, world-class organization, it can magnify their ability to provide their services. And you all just agreed for the, 6th, 7th year in a row to work with that group. So I think that's an important thing to look at as well.
Court, I'm going to have to ask you to limit this.
Sure, no, I appreciate that, and I'm excited to have the opportunity after 2 years to talk with you about some of these details. So I'll turn it over to Ron, and I thank you for that. And I'll come back up maybe to say one thing afterward.
Thank you, Court, Mayor, Council. It's a privilege to be here again. I'm Ron Chambliss, Senior Operations with the Valley of the Sun YMCA. Many of you would know the YMCA in the Valley is the oldest nonprofit in the state of Arizona, serving 20 communities. I've been engaged with this project for 2 years. I was here in this beautiful building here all day on a Saturday in the planning day when this initially began. I've spoken to council several times, been in a number of different work sessions with council, and I responded initially over a year ago to an RFI document. On January 31st, submitted a 29-page RFP that's very comprehensive, inclusive, responsive to all the guiding principles you had, complete with a binder of exhibits showing the breadth and depth of the YMCA. In May, we didn't get a response back until May, and we did a response document. I submitted a 14-page question and response document, and on May 13th, we received a tentative award letter requesting a contract by May 30th. We proposed a 20-something page contract for service. In all the work that we've done, there have been about 7 or 8 guiding principles that are important to you and important to the Y. And the first one, the court said it, this is not a YMCA proposed management agreement, it's a shared community partnership. We proposed a shared community partnership inclusive of Jennifer and the Community Service Division. We do that quite extensively with communities. Secondly, the center will always be locally governed. In the RFP and the contract is a management oversight committee. We heard it. It generally is the case. All the leadership will be local residents, employed, certified, trained, qualified, putting great workforce development back into the community. Fourthly, court said it very important. I know it. I do hundreds of studies. Most municipally run circulation centers run at a 72% cost recovery, losing 28%. If you look at the Brailsworth and Dunleavy study you surveyed, at 65% cost recovery, you lose $580,000. Casa Grande is looking at one now, they're talking about losing $465,000 a year. Glendale is losing several hundreds of thousands a year. Just in the Arizona Republic, 10 recreation centers showed losses from $250,000 to $1 million a year. We proposed a cost-neutral, non-city subsidized operating model for the city. And fifthly, we proposed an inclusive model, inclusive of kindred providers, both major and minor kindred providers, many of what you heard tonight. And lastly, we knew of the Ak-Chin Indian development, and we have now integrated that fully into our proposed contract, both for custom social service program inside the community and inside the center. We have beautiful custom social service program. And lastly, we said both in our RFP and our contract for service that we would bring community support funding to the community, not take community support from the community, and we put levels amount in the proposal for that. And lastly, that we have a diverse community service model way beyond the normal recreation model you said, and I had a chance to speak to council for that. The YMCA will always be the same. Been here over 100 years, building strong communities, strong families, strong kids. And if it be the direction of council and leadership to invite the YMCA to continue to be a shared collaborative partner, we would consider it a privilege to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
And just briefly to address one other point, the proposal or the presentation that led this off from the purchasing department, I'm not sure what that was getting at, but certainly we welcome the opportunity to sit down with the city if there was a suggestion that there are things that don't match in the proposal. We've never had that opportunity to sit down with anyone and discuss it, and so we certainly welcome that opportunity. And just the end, kind of sum it up for you all. Give us a chance to talk with everyone and put all the cards on the table, and then you weigh the decision, and whatever you finally decide is obviously the right move. So, thank you.
Thank you, Court. Kelly Anderson.
Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Farrell, members of the council, I guess I better build that overpass quicker than later, right? It's the first time I've been at a council meeting in shorts and a t-shirt, but it says the grand opening of Bacana Park, September 15, 2006. When I was in office, we worked with the developer of Glenwild, Mike Jesberger and the group. It was going to be an HOA park, and we said, let's make that a city park. And that started the process. Marty McDonald was our Park Recs guy, and he called me one day and he said, Mayor, he says, we're going to be $500,000 over budget. And I said, I don't care, build the darn thing. And so, you know, you move ahead, and since then, what has been an asset to that city? I remember in 2007, one of the bigger events, the Founders Day, when we had the Gin Blossoms. We kind of resurrected their career by having them down here and kick off their event. The next year we had Lifehouse, and I talked with Marty. I said, how are we going to up that? And I said, well, let's bring Prince down. So, you know, we were thinking big. But when I left office in '08, I thought, I'm done. I'm going to retire and live the good life. Well, Keith corralled me, and a few other people said, no, you're not done. We want you to run a bond committee and a campaign to pass a bond for park and recs and other types of facilities. So I said, I'll agree, but I want a co-chair. Teresa Farley granted that she would be a co-chair. And with that bond passed with almost 70% of the vote. And I think it was a directive from the the people voting that they want to see amenities in this community, the quality of life. And so with that, I think they wanted to see the city run. And if you think back to public safety through fire, we had those contracts with PCSO. We had the volunteer fire department that went to a district, and we assume those because people want that type of answer. And so I think, Mayor, you're going to be sitting in the hot seat if, as you always do, if it's a city run. But I think it's the model that works well, the accountability, and partnering with our neighbors is another possibility. So I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Okay, Lee Fielis.
Early in the game, thank you. Mayor, members of council, my name is Lee Fielis. I'm a resident of Glenwild. I do own a business here that partners with the City of Maricopa on providing recreational services. I am a member of the PRL committee, although I don't represent that group at this time. I want to make it very clear that I am not against anything. But what I do want to speak about is what I am for. As a patron and citizen, I want to know that any issues that arise with regard to this center can be addressed with staff and council if necessary. As a business owner and partner provider, I want to know the interests of the businesses that are partnering with the city are considered when we're doing business together. As a member of PRL, I want to know that professionalism and quality are at the forefront of all operations for the sake of every citizen that uses this facility. In the years I've been partnering with City Parks and Recs Department, I've dealt with some of the most considerate, thoughtful, respectful, and concerned people I've had the pleasure to work with. From Jennifer Campbell, Brenda Campbell, Maria Billingsley, Ruben Garcia, Vanessa Bueras, even the city manager herself. I can honestly say that I have been well cared for and well respected as a citizen, as a business owner, and as a partner provider. In contrast to other third-party experience, staff has always been thorough, professional, accommodating, and supportive. Salsa Festival this year, we had some difficulties with communication information. This is what I have from staff now. My sponsor packet with all the information I need. My benefits package with all the information I need. My volunteer packet with all the information I need, including a checklist of items that need to be addressed. Brenda had a great volunteer meeting. It was very productive. Every time something new comes up, a new activity session, groundbreaking ceremony, community event, they've always communicated well, been honest and helpful, and as I said before, most professional. Together we have developed a trusting relationship and a wonderful partnership, and I intend to prove my gratitude and continue to support the community if and when they ever need me or my business. They will have my full support and assistance in making sure that the citizens are well cared for. We have a fantastic group of representatives and city staff. They have earned my trust and my sincere thanks. With the opening of Copper Sky facility only months away, it seems to me the staff is well prepared to take on this challenge and prove exceptional leadership. I am very impressed with their work on the organizational presentation for Copper Sky, and I'm fully confident in their ability to make this monument to Maricopa something we will all be proud of. I would very much like to see they have the chance to do so. We will, of course, work professionally with whoever is charged with operations, including any third-party contractors. Should the council deem it appropriate to bring on a third party, we will endeavor to create the best relationship possible for them for the good of the public. We can always seek help later if we need it, but I would like to say now that I believe staff has proven themselves time and again. I expect this will be no different. I say we give them a chance to make it happen. This is our facility, paid for with our money. I say we show our pride and our trust in staff, and for now leave the control of Copper Sky in the hands of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ricardo Correa. Ricardo? Correa?
He spoke earlier.
Oh, he spoke earlier. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Nancy Smith.
Hello again. My name is Nancy Smith still. and I live in Rancho El Dorado in Maricopa. I agree with that man. I'm not for or against anything except for taxpayers. I want the cheapest, affordable cost to the city residents, and I want the best programming. That's what I'm after. I want to first point out that businesses across the globe use third party. They use it to better their businesses. They use it as a cost affordability over hiring employees. Our neighbors, the Ak-Chin, use third party. They use third party to manage Harrah's. They use a third party to manage the entertainment center. It's a positive thing to consider saving taxpayers' money if the center is managed appropriately by the city. The city should be seeking, in our benefit, the best low-cost quality program model available. I think in this discussion it's important to point out that there are a couple different types of cost. The operational cost, which is the cost to operate the facility, which I wrote mostly my editorial about. The usage fee, which is what people are going to pay when they use the facility. And it's important to point out another misconception by people. There is going to be a usage fee whether it's city-run or whether it's run by a third party. Very important point, because some people think everything is free. With a city-managed facility, taxpayer takes on more risk. For me, that's what it's all about as a taxpayer, risk. And I want to reduce that risk wherever possible. And if the city can't recover as a city-managed facility all of the cost in fees, guess who's going to pay that? It's going to be the taxpayer. And I have a report here in case anyone in the audience is interested. It came from the Arizona Republic on May 29th. It talks about all the cities in the East Valley who are overrunning their rec center cost. And guess where that cost goes? It goes to the taxpayer. Overrunning. So to me, that's huge risk. How do I know my city is going to manage this facility without any risk? I also have the study that was referred to where it talks about the likelihood that a third party will manage this thing more cost effectively than a self-run. This has merit. You guys, and maybe not all of you guys because it was done maybe before some of you, you asked for this study. This is information that you should be using. It points to something, and it points to something that's important to our taxpayers. As I mentioned earlier in this process, it's been taking 14 months, 2 years from the beginning, 14 months since I knew that it was first requested for an RFP. And yet we don't know anything more than we did in May. That's like shocking. I was shocked that I didn't get any new information here tonight. We barely know who the third party is. We don't know what they have to offer. We don't know the fee cost, and we don't know what the city has to offer. We know nothing about what their offerings are, what their cost is, what the risk is compared to what a third party. I'm here for the taxpayer. We need to make an educated decision on this. I'm asking you to really consider the fact that we need to continue this process to get a side-by-side comparison so that we know what's going to be the best answer to the taxpayers. I strongly encourage you to do a fiscally responsible thing and understand both sides. We've spent 2 years doing this. Let's get to the final answer so you can prove to me what the right answer is going to be. I ask you that as a taxpayer. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Crystal Cole's still here. Crystal? Crystal Coles? She left? Okay, for the record, she's against. She says, I do not want the YMCA to take control of the community rec center. So, okay. Let's see. Valerie Curran. Valerie?
Hello, my name is Valerie Curran. I live in Rancho El Dorado, and I've been a resident for 7 years. And this is regarding the RFP. I am just trying to implore the council to allow the taxpayers the opportunity to review the particulars of both the YMCA proposal, as that is the only one we have that I'm aware of, and the city's proposal, if there is one, so that we can all understand the programs each has to offer and the costs. Please give the residents and taxpayers of Maricopa the chance to make the council members aware of their feelings on this subject. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patty Cottret.
Good evening, Mayor Price and council members. My name is Patty Cottret, and I live in Rancho El Dorado in Maricopa. I am here tonight to show my support in the city staff running the operations of our new Copper Sky Multi-Generational Center. I have been a resident in Maricopa since 2005. While that may not seem like a long time, I have witnessed the growth and many changes that our city has experienced. I am proud to say that I live in Maricopa and that my family is able to participate in the many activities that our city has to offer. While I do not doubt that the YMCA is capable of running this facility, I do not believe that this is what is right for our community at this time. We all know that there are going to be fees to pay to utilize the center and for the programs, but I believe that the fees would be significantly lower run by a city rather than a third party or the YMCA. I am amazed at all of the programs that our city has been able to offer, not only to our youth, but for all generations, with the limited resources that have been available. You have an amazing staff who have been able to recruit community members to teach classes, coach sports teams, and create partnerships with Maricopa's organizations and businesses. Why not continue to grow with what you have started and been successful with? I have attended the meeting when the city was discussing what the council wanted in the RFP for this project. What I took away is that the city wanted to have control over the center. Copper Sky is going to be an amazing facility, one that the city should be proud of. Why not keep it within the operations of the city staff? The city has now taken back overseeing our community events, partly for this reason. You have a capable staff, and with the Action funding and partnership, this seems to be a simple decision to make. Please let the city staff operate the center. In 3 years, if the council feels that the center would be better off having a third party run it, I am sure that there will be nonprofits, possibly the YMCA, who will be willing to take over at that time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Leanne Clark.
I'm Leanne Clark, and I live in where do I live? I live in Province. Everyone is so eloquent tonight. It's not that I haven't agonized over what I would say all week, because I have. I thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak tonight. I think what is happening tonight is very, very important. It troubles me that we are eager to make decisions tonight without all of the information needed to make a good one. This is a very important issue. We need more time to discuss and decide. I hope you will listen carefully and let the community help you with this decision. I guarantee you will not please all the people. Since this is about politics, people, and money. I voted for most of you, and I believe that you love our city and you desire to do the best for all the members of the community. I also know that the leaders and the people of the Ak-Chin, offering $7,400,000, want this complex to be outstanding and available for everyone in Maricopa. There are major components in any building project, and this one is no exception. Vision, plans, construction, and management. Approximately $60 million has been designated for the Copper Sky complex. The city has done a good job, but now one of the most important components, management, we must seriously consider what would be best for the complex. I noticed on the agenda in both the executive session and the session now 4.1 and 11.4, and 4.2 and 11.5. 4.1 was an agreement with the Ak-Chin community, and 4.2, 11.5 was regarding the management of the complex. I couldn't help but wonder myself, and I know you can't answer me, but I have the question, can we vote yes for both of them? Or can we vote yes for only one of them? I have written to each council member and Chairman Manuel, and they know at this point I favor the YMCA. I thank the 3 people who responded to my emails. They know I favor the YMCA, and let me give you a few reasons. 65 years ago, 65 years, when my husband Lloyd was in the armed service station in Hawaii, there was a YMCA in Honolulu where they had activities, dances, parties, activities for the servicemen. When I was a child in Chicago, I remember YMCA and YWCAs in the city, and I believe they're still there. My children, who are now in their 50s, benefited from many programs, and so did I. Today, I know people from Maricopa who drive to Ahwatukee to take advantage of the YMCA. Having said that, I am not so close-minded that I would not consider a plan by the city if it was superior to the excellent program presented by the YMCA. However, I would have to hear it before I can make a decision. In a recap, I have faith in the council. I know you realize you cannot make an informed decision without listening to the city plans, the YMCA plans, and the opinions of the community. Please take the time to do that. When you do make that decision, whether tonight or in the future, please give us the reasons why you would choose one over the other. At this time, I recommend the YMCA for the management. They have the expertise, the longevity, the finance, the excellent programs, and the desire to come to Maricopa and to make the Copper Sky Recreation Complex the very best. Whatever happens, I pray I will know and you will know that your decision was based on all the facts and on the best plan for the future of the Copper Sky Recreation Complex and everyone concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Jeff Gamble.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Not quite as prepared as some of these other people, but I've lived in the Valley for about 25 years. Believe it or not, many years ago and many pounds ago, I used to tour playing beach volleyball. So one of the things that I would do is find places to practice around town. Me and a lot of the players, we would go around town looking for places to play. We found a lot of city places. We found Scottsdale Ranch Park, Horizon Park, both in Scottsdale, and we would go to them and ask if we could play, and they said yes for a fee, but it was you pay to play. And we had tournaments, we had leagues, and the city sponsored all the leagues, and we had a lot of fun there. Consequently, we went to the YMCA, and their answer was get a monthly membership and you can play in our courts. So I felt like it was a more cost-effective place for us to play working with the city. What that led to was a job working for the city of Scottsdale in their Parks and Rec division. I coached there for several years. That also led to other things. Once volleyball season was over, I got to do things like hang Christmas lights for the city that added hours to my paycheck that the city offered as a diversity. I got to coach flag football. I got to do a lot of other things that, because the city had so many different programs and so many different places for me to go, there was always opportunities for me to find hours so I could actually have a paycheck at times. I think that a city-run facility, along with the other city-run facilities, provides those type of opportunities for the 20-somethings out there that are looking for that part-time job, but, as a seasonal basis, that offered great during season, but other times there was other opportunities that I don't know that a YMCA could. I don't know that they can't, I just know what worked for me with the city. That consequently led me to Maricopa eventually, and I coached here for 3 years, and it was a lot of fun. Just to give you a little bit of demographic, I was head coach over the freshman volleyball team for 3 years up till last year, and most of the girls were actually from the Auction Tribe. And I think it's important that we have these partnerships in place with the tribe, and having, most of the team were members from the tribe, and actually we just sent one girl on full scholarship to an Indian school. Really, really cool stuff. She was easily the best player on our team, and I think partnering up with the Auction Tribe continues those opportunities for these kids to come. So my recommendation is to move forward with the city plan. I think it provides for more capabilities for the employees there, as well as it provides partnership opportunities for the school systems, for different things that are going on within the community that maybe a privately run project would not allow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Marlene Pierce.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Marlene Pierce, I live in the Villages for 8 years now. There's been a lot of discussion and even more speculation on the best way for Maricopa to manage the multi-generational center. As a proud citizen and resident of Maricopa, I feel compelled to speak to you this evening to ask that the council not only make certain that they have looked diligently at the benefits and the liabilities in choosing the direction that they will take, but more important than that, to make sure that the residents of the city have a clear understanding of that information before rendering a decision on how the center will be run. As we all know, it is a major decision that members of this community will live with for a very long time. There have been many conflicting opinions on the potential expenses and/or tax liabilities that could take place depending on what the council supports. I, for one, have a certain opinion, but it is only based on what limited information has been made available to me. Wouldn't it be great that instead of me making an assumption, I could have sound, credible information provided to me and to the other citizens in our community? Many believe that if the YMCA were to run things, that there would be high expenses to the citizens that would not occur if the facility was run by the city. If that is indeed the truth, then I would tell the world. But if that is not the case, and there will also be high expenses associated if the city runs it, then again, I would tell the world. The citizens of this community have placed their confidence and, more importantly, their trust in you to serve in their best interests, both morally and financially. And I want to make sure that the council has been transparent in informing the residents of any possible financial drainage that could occur if the city should run the facility versus the YMCA, and also in the event that this budget that was proposed this evening for the increased staffing, was that also included in the budget that you recently passed? Because if it has not been, then we are already behind the 8 ball. This is very important information that the community has the right to know. The important thing is to provide accurate analysis to see the financial and social impact on the city and its residents with each of these options being considered, and to ensure that you can clearly make a sound and responsible choice for the residents of Maricopa. Our tribal neighbors on both sides have done an excellent job of bringing attention and prosperity to the area surrounding Maricopa. The Auction with the entertainment center, and the Gila River community with the opening of the Wild Horse Pass Hotel, and their newest addition, the Phoenix Outlet Mall. Maricopa now has the opportunity to truly stand on its own and to flaunt the jewel in her crown, which is the Copper Sky Recreational Center. The goal, as I have heard many times from city officials, is this is to be the destination place that will make Maricopa the go-to city. All the more reason for you to put your best foot forward at the very beginning. As the saying goes, you only get one chance to make a first impression. With Copper Sky, Maricopa has the opportunity to be the me first instead of just a me too. With that said, it would behoove us to consider the options of an entity with experience and a track record for that type of success. Whichever direction the council should decide, it's imperative that the public have an understanding of all the options that they are paying for, and that people have the opportunity to provide feedback before a final decision is made. I encourage you to take the time necessary to thoroughly evaluate all options prior to make a decision that I mentioned before we will live with for a long time. I thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. McKay Monson. McKay? Are you here? Monson? There's nothing on the, it just says agenda item 10.2, 10.3. So, okay. Cameo Monson, I'm assuming the same. Cameo Monson? All right. Henry Wade.
I need for this to open quickly because my waistline is going south, so we need to make sure we get this exercise and fill to the fill. Mr. Mayor and City Council meeting members, I've had an opportunity to listen, and I'm not a Johnny-come-lately. I was there 2 years ago when this proposal was put before that body then, and I think there were some rational decisions or conversation that was made at that time, particularly in having this be in the hands of Maricopians. I think we're at a point in our history here in Maricopa, a point in time where the citizens of Maricopa are speaking out, and they're speaking out and saying that we're competent, we have the ability to move forward and do things. We've shown that we have been able to build a city that is a jewel. As I said once before, that we're an island, but we are a jewel on that island, that we have the capability to be able to support ourselves. And I think that we should continue to give ourselves those kudos and an opportunity to do that. And I could introduce a lot of different things. Many times I've sat at this desk here before this mic and said that this staff that we have running things is an outstanding staff. They're there when we have an outstanding city council. They're there when we have an okay city council, and they're there when we have a mediocre city council. But they are an outstanding staff. And so if we continue to put our faith and trust in them that they will do what we need for them to do, then that's what we need to do, is support them. And I have no doubt, when previous speakers spoke about the YMCA and YWCA, I'll never forget when I joined the military and they had volunteers at the YWCA when I went for my ASVAB training and my exams, my medical exams. When I walked out of the room, my grandmother was standing there. I had no idea my grandmother was a volunteer for the YMCA. She had no idea I was going in the Air Force. So, you know, I have a history with the YMCA. I've used it considerably over the years to try to get this waistline back in shape, and I will do that when it comes back again. But one thing's for sure, one thing I know, that when people want to do something, when they want to put their heart and soul into something, which is what this staff wants to do and what this community wants to see done, then I don't think we can ignore that. We can't let that go by the wayside. You have a difficult decision to make. I would not want to be in any of your shoes to try to make that decision, but I think we've already said what we would like for you to do, and that's let the staff manage this facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. I'm sorry, I'm not, is it Jenny Jackson? Janice? Janae, apologize. Janae Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Actually, Mr. Mayor, I've talked with you outside the library regarding the city and my passion for Maricopa. This is my second time living here. I was here in the beginning when, you know, Maricopa, when we didn't even have the Basha or grocery stores or anything. But what I want to speak on is I'm not very convinced that we have decided that it should be run by the city, nor that we should. And only because I think a lot of people are in agreement that we need transparency, or we need to know all the facts before we make a decision, or that you make a decision. But what I want to say is, I'm concerned about that because in the movies they say if you build it, they will come. Well, that's true if they can afford it. I mean, I would hate to see a nice shiny structure sitting there where I can't, you know, use it and bring my family to it. And as a resident, I'm from Acacia Crossing, by the way, I forgot to say that. And I would like to be able to spend my money here in Maricopa, my recreation time, encourage other outside residents to come and, experience the Maricopa that I love, the community and the people that I'm proud of. But I would like to know that when you're making a decision this big for a facility this important, and I looked at the charts, I didn't really understand it to mean that if a third party managed it, that the city, those positions wouldn't be available for city officials or members. I don't know the correct terminology. I didn't understand it that way. Maybe I was wrong. But what I'm trying to say is I just think everyone, the people, the taxpayers, the residents, just need to know what the facts are. I understand with accounting purposes, you can't always divulge everything, the details, but what the facts are so we can move forward in making the best decision for everyone involved. That's, despite politics, despite, whether it's a gift or not, just let us know what's going on so we can support you and be proud of this facility and enjoy it, be able to frequent it. Okay, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Janae. Dallas Paulson? Dallas, you still here? I don't see you. And last but not least is Robin Olney. Robin, are you here? Robin Olney? Okay. I don't see Robin. It says, I would like to comment on the YMCA agenda item. That's all it says. All right, with that, we appreciate all of the public comment. Thank you very much. It's been very, very important, and I think it'll be very helpful. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for discussion amongst the council. If you have questions or thoughts or concerns, and let's start this discussion, please. Yes, Councilman Kimball.
I had a couple questions for Patty, please, in regards to the procurement process.
Yes, sir.
So, when the city goes to RFP for anything, you guys have a team, once you get the proposals back, that goes through them and selects somebody who you would send a tentative letter to, and that is confidential, correct?
Yes, it is.
So can you explain a little bit about the process when you receive the proposals from people and what takes place?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the process is that we sit down, that purchasing sits down with the project manager, and project manager provides purchasing with the scope of services or the scope of the work that needs to be done. The RFP is drafted and it is sent out, and it's open for competitive bidding or proposals from the public.
At any point in time, does council get to see those?
No.
At any point in time, do you make that information available to the public?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Other questions, council?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Chapados.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that took the time to come here tonight and sit and listen to the various comments and presentations. I also want to thank people that took the time to contact myself and my fellow council members via email or request to meet in person or just ran into you somewhere in the community. We really appreciate your input and your involvement. That's key to what we do here. Secondly, I want to thank the Auction Indian community and the Tribal Council for unprecedented efforts to continue to nurture and sustain a partnership. And that's one that started before this was even a city, and it's one that's going to continue for generations to come. Governance and cultural differences aside, I've seen firsthand their genuine and earnest desire to help Maricopa move forward and to be good neighbors. Lastly, I want to thank city staff, particularly the city manager, and the city attorney, our new Intergov Affairs Director, our former Finance Director and now Assistant City Manager, our Purchasing Manager, and last but certainly not least, our Community Services Director. You are looking at the culmination of hours and hours and hours of conscientious work and dedication on your behalf and on our behalf. So the decisions we've got before us tonight have taken on kind of a life of their own recently. It's our task to put this back on track. That's what you saw on our agenda. As most of you know, recently we were awarded the honor of a Playful City. And I just want to acknowledge that that designation is a direct reflection of a concerted effort of staff and key community stakeholders in an effort to promote this community as a place to live, work, and play. And it's the play aspect that I want to talk about for a minute. Recent events, and this is going to date me, but that's okay, reminds me of a game show from the late 50s, early 60s called Who Do You Trust? And for those of you unfamiliar with that game, basically what happened was you'd have partners appear on the show. They would be asked questions by a host, and the object of the game was to win prize money. The host would announce the category, and then one of the persons would be asked, do you want to answer the question, or do you trust your partner to answer it? The more complicated the questions, the more higher the risk. I see some similarities here in what's happened. The category is direction. The contestants are the city and a potential third-party vendor. The prize is our voter-approved, taxpayer-funded $21 million multi-gen center. The question is who should manage it. Here, however, is where I see our little episode kind of take an interesting twist. Rather than having the contestants work this out and decide who's going to answer, there have been several questions posed to the audience, you, the taxpayers, and the voting public. They were asked in such a way as to spark very emotional responses, but as you've heard many times tonight, you don't have all the information. Some of the members of the audience have done a very good job saying, hey, we don't have all the information. We want to know. Well, all I can do is cite another example of something that was on TV, and that was called The Quiz Show. And some of you may even see the movie. That's a perfect example of what happens when you give the answers out before you should in order to control who wins the game. For me, in many ways, this experience has been like watching what happened to the Titanic. You don't really know that you're in trouble until you hit the iceberg because you can't see what's beneath the water. The call for help went out loud and clear. The good news is we're not too late. Help has arrived. And it's not because we didn't hear the call. It's because we had to take the safest, most prescribed legal route, and we needed the time to get here. We're here. Speaking for myself, I've been in that audience for 5.5 years. I've been here for a little over 6 months. I have no doubt that the city councils now and in the past truly wanted to do what's best for the city of Maricopa and for her residents. I also believe that we have talent and expertise to undertake major projects. We have a history, as been mentioned several times here tonight, with third-party managed services. It's clearly not our preference. If that was the case, well, if Chief Stahl was still here, he would tell you, we'd still be under PCSL contract. We've heard a lot of people lately talk about global water. When I call customer service, not only do you not get somebody in Maricopa, you get a disinterested third party somewhere in Phoenix. I also kind of want to clear up some confusion, and it's been mentioned a couple times already. There is a distinct difference between funds for construction and funds for maintenance and operation. If one did take care of the other, then we all would have been able to build our houses and not put another cent into running them. Not the case. So for me, it comes down to knowing the job and doing the job. As with every MOU, IGA, formal agreement or contract that's come before this body, there's an administrative process, and it's there for a reason. It works. We've had these processes in place, and as it's been mentioned several times tonight, there are things in place that bind us. Codes, statutes, issues of confidentiality, and ethics. But for me, it all boils down to one word: trust. I have listened to everybody's comments. I have read all the emails. I've read all the documentation. I've thought about this thoroughly, and I want to tell you that I appreciate where you are, but this is an administrative process to decide, should we continue with an RFP process or should we not? I trust the process. I trust that our city manager has placed a competent and professional executive team in place to help us run these departments. I trust that those directors also work their best to have competent staff people. I trust that once you hear all the answers, this is a decision that council has to make. Your input is vitally important, but at no time in the past have we ever divulged the contents of an MOU, an IGA, a contract, or anything to the public before it was ready to have action taken on. Unfortunately, that's not the issues that are before us. It's clear cut. Do we continue with the RFP process? Do we not? I hope once you hear my vote, you'll understand, and once you see all the information as it becomes available to you, you'll understand my position. I think the city can do this. Thank you.
Other thoughts, concerns, questions to be asked? Yes, Vice Mayor.
It's not so much a question, it's just, it's clarification for the crowd out there, because I know there's a lot of misinterpretation out there, and with a lot of the call to the public and people talking, I can tell there's some misinterpretation as well. As Councilwoman Chapados said, I knew I was going to get that wrong. This agenda item is agendized tonight as an RFP process to manage the facility, period. The decision that we have to make on this agenda item is whether or not we're going to hire out a third party to manage the facility, or are we going to manage the facility on our own? That doesn't say anywhere that we can't bring in potential partners in the future to help run our programs within the facility. But we can't continue that process with the third party because that's not what the RFP says. So you might wonder, well, then why are you cutting these negotiations off with the third party if you can continue the programming? Because that's not the RFP process. The RFP was manage the facility. Now, after the decisions are made tonight, we can come back to the table if the council chooses to bring another RFP process out for third parties to help us with the programs that are within the facility. So our hands are not tied behind our backs. We've just got a decision on who's going to manage the facility. That doesn't say we can't bring in partners to help us with the programming of the facility in the future. I just wanted to make that clear, make sure everybody understood that clarification.
I would like to echo what the Vice Mayor just said. I mean, there have been some comments tonight that this has been a lengthy process, and frankly, I'm glad it has been. It's been a lengthy process because things have changed, the city has evolved, situations have evolved, facts have evolved, and this is an ever-fluid process. Now, at some point, you do have to get to a decision point, and that's absolutely crucial. Without as much, then we wander on forever and we never get anything done. And you know, I think it's really important to go back and refocus what we're talking about here. Again, this is managing the facility, as the Vice Mayor just said. And in that management of the facility, it's about what council dictated for the RFP back in October. You know, when I came on this council, there were other new members of council as well, and I remember having the conversation with them, you know, what did you think that this process meant up to this point? And everybody had a different answer, including members of the council that had been on here. And so what we decided to do is we decided to have a clarification point, and we moved to have a day, which we held a special meeting to which many of you were at, and therein we decided as a council and had a 7-0 vote that basically stated, these are the things that are most important to us as a council to see and be respondent to all of the people in the city. Okay, and like was said earlier, you can't make all people happy all the time. You can only make some of the people happy some of the time. But our job as elected officials is to figure out and to try and decipher the different opinions and codes and ideas and what's best for you know, the city and its residents, so that in the end you have the very best mechanism in place to serve them. And with that, in that October meeting, that's what we defined. We defined, as per 7-0 vote, the key points that we demanded to see in these contracts and what the negotiation point would take us to. And so where we're at today is, again, is have we really seen that? Have we come down to it? And have we felt like we're going to get the control that we as a council have said that the citizens have demanded of us to require in this management contract? And I think that that's the decision before us today. As the Vice Mayor said, it is about managing the facility. That's it. And from the management of the facility and in that control, that's where it stands. You know, I think about oftentimes, we do a lot of firsts in this city. That's what happens when you're 10 years old. It's pretty exciting. You get to do a lot of first things the first time. I haven't been part of all of them, but I get to be a part of this one. And I think back at PCSO. I mean, we used to contract with the county, and I'm appreciative for that, because when I moved out here, we had nothing but the county to service our police calls. But there came a time in which we decided as a public that we wanted control over ourselves as a police department, so that I could pick up the phone in an HOA or in a situation, and I wouldn't have to wait 4 hours for the officer to arrive, because there were only 3 of them to cover 4,500 square miles. And so we took on that role. We paid for it, and we still pay for it, but it's been acceptable, and it's getting better each and every day. But nobody said to us, oh, well, we've never done that before, don't do it. You just do it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. And I think that's where we're at. I remember sitting, 3 years ago, four, maybe 5 years ago now, and then almost just a couple months ago when we were in a global water meeting. And in that global water meeting, I remember sitting there, and each and every person that came up to that, except of members of Global Water, would have said to the ACC, we want to have some help here. We're asking you as our elected officials to help us. And in that help, we are asking and pleading for you not to raise the rates, because we don't have any control of that. It's a separate entity that controls it. And so I remember a gentleman getting up there saying, boy, I just think that the city should buy out Global Water and that they should run it. And there was an eruption from the crowd. It was standing room only. It was applause. It was, yes, we want that. Now, why would you want that? Well, you want that because if it's a municipal-controlled water company, you have the ability to go to your elected officials and say, hey, those fees, they're too high. They're going up. And I want some control here. But we have no local control in that particular entity. We just don't. That's the way it is. So what I'm asking of myself, and what I think I am interpreting from both the audience and from the countless emails and the people I've met in the grocery store and everywhere I go, when I look back to that council meeting back on October 15th, what I realize is that the city is demanding that we control this. It's not going to be without speed bumps. It's not going to be perfect at the go-around. Doesn't mean that there are no potentials for partnerships. Okay? All of those things exist, but it's because you maintain the control, you have the ability to do so. When you hand those keys off, you no longer have that control. Now, it can always be negotiated one way or the other, but there are more things at play here. And again, I look forward to those options and opportunities to discuss them. But at this moment, I have to look and say to myself, is this what the residents want? Do they want to maintain the ultimate control to be able to control fees? And again, at the end of the day, I have to look and say, well, the city is not in this to take home a lot of money. In fact, they probably just want to break even. Maybe they do subsidize it, but really, they probably want to break even. If I bring in another person who not only wants to break even, but wants to make a profit, I have to ask myself, how does that cost get passed on? Well, I can see how it's gotten passed on in Global Water. So I wonder, do we not stand to find ourselves in the same situation? So as I see this tonight, and as I see this RFP process, and I see some of the things that have concerned me greatly in this RFP process, I stand to say that control is the key factor, and that's what we as a council decided on 7-0 on October 15th. Councilwoman Gussie.
Once again, I'm going to reiterate some of the comments that have already been made. What we're tasked with today is to manage who's going to manage the facility. and I went through this, and I've gone through this a couple of times. I grew up in East Los Angeles, and I have to admit that if it wasn't for the YMCA, I'd probably be one of those cholas hanging around in the corner. And I have to tell you that my parents understood the value of the programming, because there wasn't anything. We grew up in the inner city, there wasn't anything else but the Y to keep us out of trouble and making sure that we had activities going on. And looking at it now, 30 years later, well, I'm 43, but 30 years since I played for the Y. Looking at it now, I'm looking at all the input that everyone's had. By the way, we never acknowledged Ms. Patty Couture, our Maricopa Unified School District board member that's here today. Patty, her son and I, my son and her son grew up, they've grown up since kindergarten in this community. And her husband has been coaching for basketball since my son was little. Mark, who spoke on behalf of the baseball, my kids have been playing baseball since they could walk, since they were 4 years old. And they've been playing with Mark, who used to be my neighbor across the street. Mayor Anderson was one of the coaches for my son on one of the baseball teams. Mr. Felix, who was here on behalf of the karate studio, he actually volunteered hours, numerous hours, for our Maricopa Let's Move program. Mr. Aviles was a coach for my kids on several different teams and has been part of the community, not only as our Parks and Rec employee, but also as part of a volunteer. Leon has coached for our soccer, for the Let's Move program. Mr. Manfredi has also coached for the girls softball. And just recently, I found out that TPA Hoops, which was an organization that we weren't able to fund through the nonprofit programs, received funding through the high school, and they're providing the programming at the high school. So fast forwarding the 30-some years since I've played for the Y, and I understand the value that the Y would bring, and we are here today to see who's going to manage the facilities. I look at how much heart and soul is invested in this community by so many members, and after hearing all the individuals coming up to us and telling us, you know what, we want to see the opportunity for the city to run this program, and that's where I'm sitting today.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions that you have for anybody, staff? Yes.
Question, actually.
Yes, Councilman Potter.
Jennifer, probably. It's been, an earlier item, it was brought up earlier, that council we approved the GPAC. We kept going with the investment. And since I made the motion and brought up those questions, in regard to this, prior councils had gone through this process, and recently this year extended the RFP program. Now, is council obligated to stick with that route of going through the RFP program? Is city council obligated to continue the RFP process with the third party?
That's the decision.
That's right. I know it's a decision, so I know it's rhetorical. That's what it is. The question is rhetorical. We're not obligated to continue on with that, correct?
Mayor, Councilmember Potter, Patty Lacombe.
Okay. Well, and I apologize for that. Because it was brought up that we should go down this path because we invested so much but prior council invested so much time. And what we're trying to get at is that it's okay to go through the process and see that maybe it wasn't working or wouldn't work. Forgive me, I just kind of put you on the spot like that. But what I do want to ask you is, and I asked you this before regarding the events, is city staff, in regards to running the center, and I know we have another part of the agenda regarding hiring more staff possibly in option B and C, which direction. But as you see it right now, is city staff capable of running the center?
Mayor, Councilmember Potter, and again, it's obviously a council decision on how you want to go, and staff will either work with a third party to manage the facility, or we will city run it, and we are capable of either option.
Okay, thank you. And going back to the October meeting, October 15th, and Mary pointed out, something that came up over and over was control. And something we wanted to give up was risk. And I think that's hard to do, is keep 100% control and give up 100% of the risk. That's impossible. That's a lot to ask for anybody. And as I see it, it really isn't a risk if the city takes on this task of running the facility itself. The city in its newness, going back almost 10 years with programs of I've coached soccer since I've been here, and that was a city-run program. And it's our flagship sports program that the city has. And we built on that, and we recently started volleyball. We continue to grow on that. So I don't think it's necessarily a risk. There might be a question of how much money and being subsidized and so forth, but I think, if we want the control, it's something that we have to give up, is the risk in return. But I think, as was pointed out before by Mayor Kelly Anderson, was, let's just go for it. Let's just do it. We know what we wanted as a council on October 15th. And listening to the feedback of the public, and I wrestled with this, and I read all the emails of the public, came across people, and the pros and cons of each. But I think right now, going with what I know is the process that I know that has worked, is having the city run it. So that's where I'm going with it. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Councilwoman Gussie.
I just want to add something to what you just mentioned. This was a memo that was given to us. Wasn't given to us in the executive session or anything. This was a memo from the YMCA given to us October 15th. And within the memo, one of the questions that they answer was, how does a local community YMCA operate financially? And it struck me because I went back through my notes and actually found this little packet. One of the items that they mentioned there is, in answering that question, they said that they are self-sustained from revenues. It is important to note that the Valley of the Sun YMCA supports its local chapters as needed and spends money raised outside of a specific community within such community. For example, funds raised in Scottsdale or Phoenix could be allocated to help cover Maricopa Center. It is necessary for a community to raise certain funds within the community. That brought a big red light to me. If other communities are fundraising for Maricopa, that would mean that the city of Maricopa would be fundraising for other communities also. And I don't think that the taxpayers that paid the money into that facility are going to be willing to see one of their pennies go to a different community. And that's my personal opinion. And this is a memo that came from them directly.
Yes, Councilwoman Chapados.
Going back to one of the questions that was asked earlier, did we, in the budget that we just approved, allocate money for the new staffing reorg? And the answer to that is yes.
Okay. Are there any questions? Further discussion? At this time, I would accept a motion, but we will be closing 10.3 and just taking a motion on 10.2. Yes, Councilman Kimball.
I'd like to make a motion on 10.2 that we end the RFP negotiations and that we have the city manage Copper Sky facility.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second? I'm sorry? Second. So there has been motion and second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, can we move to a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Farrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Yes.
Mayor Frist?
Yes. Thank you very much. That moves us to, thank you. That moves us to item 10.3, and thus as motioned in 10.2, unless there is any additional questions or concerns on this. Excuse me, Brenda?
Mr. Mayor, I thought maybe since there's been some passing of time, Jennifer can get up and based on the decision that council just made, recap what the options would be that she would recommend that you approve.
Okay. So based on the outcome of 10.2, just skip to those.
Based on the outcome of 10.2, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff recommends the approval of A and D, which is revising the organizational structure and hiring the staff for the operation and maintenance of the Copper Sky Regional Park, and reclassifying certain positions within the Community Services Department due to their current responsibilities and duties. And then also, if the city is to manage it, staff recommends approval of C, which is hiring the necessary staff to manage the facility.
Okay. That being said, may I have a motion, please?
I'm sorry. I motion that we move with the proposed C.
A, C, and D.
A, D, and C. There you go.
So A, D, and C. Is there a second? Second. So there's been motion and second. Is there any further discussion on the item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. At this point, we will move to item 10.4, which we will discuss and possibly take action on acceptance of the Information Technology Evaluation Strategic Technology Plan. Tom.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Pleased to be before you tonight to present the analysis, findings, and recommendations of the a long study performed by LDL Technology Partners. Just real quick, I have consultants, Jeff Locketts and Ariana Arias, here to present tonight, and we're just seeking council action to accept the report. We will subsequently come back tentatively on July 15th to start the process to implement a lot of the findings you will go through, that we will go through tonight. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Locketts and Ms. Arias.
Thank you.
Mayor, City Council members, tonight we are going to go and discuss the Information Technology Evaluation and Strategic Technology Plan that we were engaged to do in April of 2013. So a brief description of what we're going to do tonight. We're going to cover the definition and the approach and also the results of this engagement. The basis of our project was to perform an analysis of the current IT operations and how they're working, all the major operations, major applications that are being used, the current IT infrastructure, the IT maintenance, and IT support that the city currently has. From this, we identified key strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats that Jeff will discuss more in detail in a later slide. From our analysis, we were able to provide a list of recommendations related to IT organization structure, including maintenance and support systems, the IT staffing complement, how the city IT organization or division is currently staffed and how it should be staffed for the future needs of the city, the software and infrastructure, as well as the IT project management capabilities, as a lot of our recommendations will result in initiatives that will have to be managed by the IT division. And lastly, necessary upgrades of the IT assets or purchase of new IT assets. This, we all balled up into a nice little report that you guys already have received and reviewed. And this would result in initiatives that are recommended in a 1 to 5 year plan. So how do we come to the conclusion that we did from our analysis? Through the use of our interactive survey that was deployed to all city members, through the analysis of all policies and procedures related to IT, and through interviews conducted for all directors of all operating units within the city, we were able to evaluate these against the 4 IT dimensions that are listed here: IT governance, IT service delivery, applications, and infrastructure. This analysis served as a basis for our recommendations, our timetable, and our milestone presented in the report. The picture here on the left depicts how all 4 of these components of the IT dimensions fit together. As you can tell, the IT governance component is the overarching component of IT, as it results in operational efficiencies and risk management. From there, you go into service delivery, which is divided into applications and infrastructure, and how those are supported and managed. So how do we come up with our approach? We reviewed the information technology vision of the IT department and develop goals. Obviously, these goals are going to be met with some obstacles and challenges that we will have to overcome. This results in the creation of strategies, and these strategies will ultimately become strategic initiatives that we will build upon action items. So these action items will result in the completion of the strategies and therefore in the completion of the goals set forth. Lastly, I want to talk about our strength, weakness, and opportunities analysis that we use to identify challenges within the current IT infrastructure. As you can see, everything on the left are helpful and beneficial to the IT department or division at this point in time, and anything in the right quadrants are harmful. So if you look more into detail, the internal factors that are helpful are things that we want to leverage upon. Anything that's internal and harmful are things that we want to make sure we overcome. Lastly, in the bottom, you have external factors that are opportunities, but since they're helpful, we want to make sure that we capitalize upon these. And in the bottom right quadrant, we have external factors that are harmful, and there's no control over these factors, obviously, but we want to make sure we're able to mitigate these. We analyzed all 4 of these quadrants and made sure that we address them in our strategic plan, and Jeff will discuss more in detail these items.
Mayor, council members, what we found, let's see, key strengths. Really, the thing to take away from this is your organization, the city's organization, operations, they are not afraid of change. They embrace change, and they do that every day. A lot of organizations are afraid of change, and they react negatively towards the suggestion of change. The key strength of the city we find are creativity where necessary. De facto support personnel are chosen by the users. An initiative exists to make better use of technology for efficiency and effectiveness to perform their jobs. They're looking for help in doing their jobs and really want to use technology to do that. Executive management is focused on planning for the future, and they look for technology for that. Public safety will use interlocal resources where necessary for IT support and services when they need to. They're willing to look outside of the city if necessary to get help with IT. The city has already taken steps to move toward a virtualized server environment that makes the best use of physical assets. The weaknesses that we found are that the IT division is structured for infrastructure design and maintenance rather than focused on user support. With that in mind, the IT division is also support reactive and not set up for a service delivery model. The primary administrative application, Munis, the users were never trained adequately, so they really need help in that area. Public safety information software support is minimal. There's no direct support person supplied to public safety on a full-time basis. They're sharing the support with the rest of the city, and their applications are very complex. A gap exists between Global Water, the city's GIS support organization, and the city's GIS needs. The city is not getting served by Global Water when it comes to their GIS needs. The city's primary administrative and public safety system modules are not being used to their full capacity. Again, here, there needs to be more training and understanding of the system, and that needs to be enhanced. Opportunities. Now remember, these are outside, and the city can make use of these. The first one is the IT division vacancies right now allow for an IT organizational restructuring. It's an excellent time for it. A potential exists for interlocal IT support sharing for the city's primary applications. The applications that the city is using internally are off-the-shelf applications specific for municipalities. These are common applications that are found out there, and other municipalities and governmental organizations within the region use these. So you have the opportunity to share knowledge. Enhanced training for many of the for the primary administrative application, munis, and public safety Spielman applications. Those are common applications, and you can go to the vendors to get additional training where necessary and enhance the knowledge within the city. Engaging Tyler Technologies, the munis vendor, for an application health check. It would make sense at this point, at this juncture, to actually have somebody come in and look at how your munis application is configured to see if it's configured for best practices for your needs and where necessary adjustments made to actually work better for the city. Other opportunities: investigate the use of cloud hosting services for various city applications. There may be no reason for the city to actually host certain applications internally. They can be pushed out, and then they're taken off the back of the city. Expand the use of primary administrative and public safety system modules. This plays exactly to the role of more training and better use of these applications. And then performing and archiving exercises to maximize the efficiency of the primary public safety system. Spielman is got a lot of data in it, and the vendor actually does suggest doing certain archiving and adjustments to the system, and they're available to support the city in that endeavor. Threats. We go back to the same things that keep playing here. There's the reactive support cycle within the IT group, because it's back-end support driven and not front-end support driven, creates and stifles the ability for visioning related to leveraging the technology for efficient and effective city operations. The administrative and public safety systems may be at risk due to lack of ability to provide that IT vision. And then a path to effective communications through IT needs to be made through the decision makers. In other words, the ability to work with the decision makers within the city to actually expand technology to support the city and actually move it forward in that way. IT staff is not required to maintain continuing professional education. Everybody knows in this day and age that technology is changing rapidly, very fast. All technology staff need to be required to continue to improve and continue to know about the new technology that's out there so they can advise the organization appropriately. Staff within IT must be required to take CPE. Components of munis were not configured correctly to meet the city's needs. We heard that loud and clear from the users. They need more capabilities. They need somebody to come in and do that health check. Law enforcement has a lack of direct IT support. Again, this is a big issue. There's no support person stationed within public safety and law enforcement. That system is very complex, and it does a lot for you. It needs to have support on hand for it. Current network backhaul will not support the needs of a future police dispatch. The city is contemplating building a police dispatch station away from the municipal area that's currently under construction. Right now, you're reliant on back-end T1s for communication. That's a slower technology. You need to expand that bandwidth for your backhaul so that you have the ability to be able to support the future police dispatch when it's developed. The GIS systems and AVL systems are not maintained or enabled to support public safety needs. Again, this is that problem with GIS and the fact that there's no in-house GIS support and Global Water is not doing what it needs to do. The fire department has had to eliminate needed applications due to a lack of direct IT support. They would like to have those applications back, but because of the lack of support, they find it's an easier avenue to go. Data redundancy. Your systems are redundant internally, but you're backing up, so don't get this one wrong. But the reality is that in today's day and age, a lot of organizations are duplicating their storage environments so that if a storage environment fails, it will fail over to another storage environment. Internally, they're redundant automatically, but there needs to be a second redundancy with load balancing and failover in case one fails. If something fails now, you'll have to wait to restore tapes in order to get your systems back up, and you can't afford the downtime. This leads to the recommendations. Primary recommendation, elevate the IT division to a full IT department status. What the elevation does is it will result in an IT director, an IT administrative application support specialist, a public safety application support specialist, a GIS specialist to support the GIS needs of the city, and a help desk support specialist. The newly recruited IT director will report directly to the assistant city manager. Move to a strategic outsourced vendor or interlocal agreements for network and server implementation, maintenance, and support tasks. So what this does is it takes and moves you to a support-centric model where your back-end components, which take less maintenance, will be done through vendor relationships and/or interlocal agreements. Strategic outsourcing will be used to support all of that back-end technology. So what do we have? Oh, not a great slide. Okay. What you see here is the current as-is model. You have the director of finance over the IT manager. Under the IT manager, you have a network architect and a network administrator. So your back end supported internally. You have one support person that happens to be a contractor. It's outsourced. You have, and I guess this is a had, when we were here doing this project, there was a high school intern here doing help desk. This is back-end support-centric, not front-end support-centric. We're saying move this and elevate it to a department status with the assistant city manager over the structure, an IT director which will manage vendor relationships for your server support and your network support. Under your IT director, you will have a help desk support specialist, administrative application support specialist, this is for your Munis application and other administrative applications. Your GIS specialist to take care of the GIS needs within the city. And then lastly there is your public safety application specialist that will be stationed with police and fire that will take care of your public safety centric applications. This is a support-centric model for the users, and the back end is taken care of by technology groups that can handle back-end support and maintain their knowledge base to support infrastructure. The overall goal of elevating the IT division to department status is to better support the users. When you look at the two models, it becomes apparent. It'll improve the city's staff efficiency and productivity, improves the use of city assets, both application software and infrastructure. It improves IT user support across the entire organization. It enhances management reporting. It improves the use of the city assets, both the applications and infrastructure, so you're making more with what you've got. A clear IT vision, direction, coordination across the city's operating departments can be felt through this. As one thing I didn't point out in that diagram is your IT director will be working with the directors of all the departments within the city through the regular city manager meetings. They will be sitting in on the regular city manager meetings, so they'll be hearing what the departments need, where the misses are, and they will be able to communicate completely and understand what the needs are within the city. This will leverage the technology to solve the operation challenges now and into the future. How did we prioritize these items? Because we came up with several. What I've done is I've gone over the high-level ones. What we did is we take a qualitative analysis and bring it down to a quantitative, where we take and assign numbers. We assign numbers as weaknesses and exposures to those weaknesses. So weakness times exposure results in risk. Risk then is applied, a weight factor is applied to risk based upon budget issues, how the city prioritizes things, so on and so forth, but you still can't get away from that resulting risk, and that becomes your priority. So what have we got? We end up dividing the total number in 3. So anything 10 and lower is a low, 11 to 20 is a medium, and 21 and higher is a high. Timing's important, because some things have to have other things before them before you can move into it. So we phased everything. So not only do we have high, medium, and low, we time phase based upon what needs to happen first. So we have planning if it's relevant, implementation, and then ongoing if it's an ongoing item that just needs care and feeding. So, our high priority items, and this is difficult to read, but it's in the report. I'm not going to go line by line through it because we'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't think anybody wants to. But right here in the high priority items, you do have your IT director, your support staff, the restructuring of the organization. These are all high priority items, and it needs to happen in order to make this a service-centric model with a clear vision for the future. Those are right up there up front. Now, this, one thing that's important to understand is this is a 5-year plan because, of course, budgetary items, you're probably going to be planning into the future on some of this stuff. Then, of course, your medium items, again, this is a longer list. I'm not going to go through it, but these are longer term. You can see the arrows push out into the 5th year in a lot of cases, and these are items that we prioritize less, and again, those are in the report. And then, of course, your low items. Questions?
Council, any questions? Councilman Brown.
Obviously, under your key threats, it all begs the question of additional staff that is needed for some time, IT. What additional enhancement would be required for the Spielman application?
One of the things, and this is off the top of my head, one of the things is that Spielman has, and I can't remember their specific terminology, but for lack of a better terminology, they have lookup windows for certain cases. Well, those lookup windows are driven by prior events. So what ends up happening is when somebody gets charged or something happens, a window drops down. Well, because this application has been operating for so long within the city, it takes a tremendous amount of time for somebody to wade through this huge list of items to start assigning roles to it. That list is huge. Well, Spielman comes back and they say, okay, we have a plan for maintenance, care, and feeding. Now, of course, part of this process, and Ariana alluded to it, is we actually talked with Spielman at length about what they propose in best practices in the maintenance of their software. And one of the things is that they're saying that the person that takes care of their application needs to manage these lookups. There's a way of doing it. They can weed through it, they can consolidate where necessary and get these lookups. It can make the use and efficiency of the application much stronger. In addition, you have several modules. There's modules, this is all modularized, that you own as a city and you're not making full use of. Part of that is training. Because the application needs more training, those modules aren't used. This is the same thing that falls on the other side of the house too, and that's also on the munis side, on the administrative side. You have a lot of modules you're not making the best use of, and that's because of lack of training.
Lastly, I noticed that you recommending hiring a new director of IT. would that suggest not considering, maybe I shouldn't ask this of you, not considering McCara as the director? Can someone answer that?
I can answer that. Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Brown, thank you very much for the question. Similar to any creative position, we would open it up to candidates to apply, and certainly our IT folks who work tirelessly and who are very dedicated employees can absolutely apply. I don't believe, and I would have to ask our Human Resources Director, that if there is a position that is at a higher grade than the current position, we could automatically assign. In other words,
we do reclassify. We just reclassified someone tonight, Paul.
Right. And Mayor and Council Member, what we would do is, we have about 3 takeaways from this tonight. The first thing is create an IT director position and fill it however we can get that done. If it's a reclass, we do a reclass. If it's a competitive process or we go out, we go out. We'll do what's in the best interest of the city. The other takeaway is we elevate this to a departmental status. We have kind of outgrown the where we're at. We're to a point where we have to leverage technology so much. IT has to have a seat at the table in order to make good decisions, in order to prioritize the needs of the different departments. Beyond those 2 things, what we intend on doing is turning the report over to the new IT director and say, here are the recommendations. Take these, come back, implement what makes sense to implement, time it the way it makes sense to time these things. And so we would turn these recommendations over to the IT director, similar to what occurred in the police department review. Did I answer your question?
Well, you answered, but you still seem to be dancing around the point of seriously considering Mrs. Underwood. I want to know why.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the hiring, promotion, and everything to do with personnel is an administrative matter.
I understand that, but I'm still,
I don't know that it'd be appropriate to speak about that.
All right.
Open public meeting, I would defer to our attorney. But tonight's for you to accept the report. The next meeting would be to come back requesting council to create the position, the department, and I think there was one other thing that was recommended for the next council meeting. And so we can talk about it at that time, but it would not be, I'm uncomfortable if I not take on that on the record.
Councilman Brown, do you have anything else?
I've made my point. I've made it previously with our city manager. Benefits diversity.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Questions? Yes, Councilman Gussie.
So this is a budget question. If we were to support some of the recommendations, what are you looking at as far as a timeline, and do we have it in our budget to do so?
That's a fantastic question. We've wrestled with that. We felt the importance of getting an IT director on board, and then we'll come on July 16th. We'll evaluate the budgetary impact. If there is a budgetary impact and we need to request contingency in order to get this person on board, we will do that. Anything else that has significant budgetary impact, we would propose putting it in the normal budget process. In other words, we go through starting in the winter and through the spring on, the IT director would say, these are the important items, here's the budgetary impact, and they compete with every other priority that's in our operating budget. It's something that we will absolutely have to wrestle with and prioritize the needs for IT against the priorities of every other department in this city.
Well, I guess my next question kind of goes along. So, once we go with these staffing recommendations, what happens to our current staff? Can you answer that?
Mr. Mayor, council members, I don't think my mic's working, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
There we go. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, any kind of staffing changes that would be required, we would be bringing forward for you to consider as part of a staff complement change. This is not something, much like the police department, much like development services, this is a year, 18-month-long process. The recommendation is not to eliminate positions as far as anybody that's in there right now. It's looking at the evolution. It's starting a path. It's providing a pathway to evolve that function into being what the city needs. So we would not be taking any action that would adversely affect any existing employees. That is not how we have handled any of our resulting audits. So what we would do is come back to you in a phased approach. The first would be to get the director on board, just like with Chief Stahl, and we're using you as a good example, Chief, so thanks for indulging us in your name. But we would hire someone who would come in and assess that. That person may agree or disagree with, based on their expertise, with some of the recommendations. So we'll take those on a case-by-case basis, and any changes, just like some of the changes that were recommended from the Development Services audit, didn't affect the staff that was in there, even though it was a recommendation. So I want to reassure that we're not doing anything knee-jerk, and we're not going to be adversely affecting anybody with the acceptance and the recommendation that we would be making at the next meeting.
And my last question. Now, the report mentioned lack of training. Would you say that because of the tight budget that we've been in the last couple of years, that's been...
That was an interesting question. The answer we got was interesting. The response, and I think the wording was something around the fact that the training's available, people are not availing themselves of it. So you have to understand that what I'm saying is require the training. In other words, it's not optional. They have to take it. Because evidently, the response we got was, it is available, they're not taking it.
Okay, and just one last comment, I promise. As far as staffing is concerned, we just lost one of our staff members, and I know we've had some turnover here. And now she's the one that's training, going all over the country, training people on Tyler Technologies. And this was one of our staff members that we had here for a while. So just keep it into consideration, let's keep our staff members, let's get them trained, if that's what we're seeing. Let's make sure that we keep them employed too, if that's the case.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, absolutely, and we appreciate the support that council has shown in some of the programs we highlighted tonight, such as the Organizational Performance Award that you approved a couple of meetings ago. All of those go in to help us retain the excellent employees that we have, but sometimes we cannot compete. If the private sector's paying them more money, or if it's giving them a promotional opportunity that we don't have available, we may not be able to compete in those cases. So we do our very best because we want to keep our superstars here in Maricopa to perform for us.
Any other questions? I would accept a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for your report. The last official item, but we do have a 9.2 following up 10.5. This is the fact that we will possibly take action on approval of conditional use permit, CUP 13-01, requesting command communications on behalf of Verizon Wireless to co-locate a microwave antenna on a pre-existing tower that is owned and operated by Verizon Wireless. And Councilwoman Gussie?
I'd like to recuse myself. My husband and my brothers are employees of Verizon.
Thank you. Ruben? I'm sorry, Rudy.
Thank you. Good evening.
Long night.
I understand. Good evening, Mayor, council members. As you stated, this is a conditional use permit request for a co-location of a microwave antenna on an existing cell tower here in the city. The existing cell tower is located at 44870 West Halfway Road, which is the Maricopa Town Center, Commercial Center, right adjacent to the existing post office on Halfway Avenue. The existing cell tower today is 104 feet 6 inches high. This co-location microwave antenna will be placed at 60 feet high on the existing cell tower. Here is what we asked for in our newly adopted wireless communication ordinance, is what we call a photo simulation of what's proposed or what's existing out there and how it's going to look like with the new microwave antenna co-location. This case was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 10th and did get a recommendation of approval for this request. This case also requires a full citizen participation plan, which the applicant was required to hold a neighborhood meeting, notify the public 15 days prior to the meeting through mailings, public notification, and a sign posting on the property. To this date, there has been no opposition for or against this case, and as just recently during the public hearing, there was no opposition for the request.
I was driving by this the other day. Isn't there another freestanding one that looks like a little drum like that, a microwave antenna to the east or west or south of it? I don't remember. I was just curious. You know,
Probably the one overshadowing on McDavid Road. That's the only cell tower on this area.
Okay. Okay. Council, any questions?
Move to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then final item is 9.2, and I need a motion to move to executive session on 9.2.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. look to Councilwoman Chapados to specify that motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve agenda item 9.2, the contract for services from the city attorney with the proposed changes to the letter of intent, or letter of agreement. Increased detail of the staffing complement changes that have been made recently.
Second. So it's been motion seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion, can I have a motion to move to E-session?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.